Ladies and gentlemen, gentlemen, and gentlemanly ladies, on this week's On the Rocks, Pride Month continues. It gets a little Latinx in here with BuzzFeed influencer and activist Curly Velasquez, also Entertainment Weekly executive editor. That sounds fancy. I don't know. Patrick Gomez is here, and me, your favorite host with the sassy most. Raise a glass and let the drinks begin.
Life is a banquet, and most poor suckers are starving to death.
I'd like to propose a toast.
This is On the Rocks with Alexander, where I drink with your favorite celebrities as we talk about fashion, entertainment, pop culture, reality TV, and, well, that's about it. So pop a cork, lean back, and raise a glass to On the Rocks.
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
Oh, Lord, buttons and bows and... What was that? Oh, my Lord. It's like the Music Man and Mary Poppins. And get your buttons right. You're pushing my buttons. On the Rocks is proud. Oh, God. We have to pay for that now. We have to send Brittany a check. No more buttons, Sean. She'll be in court tomorrow. I know. Buttons and bows and pantyhose on the Rocks podcast, the place where we're too glam to give a damn, especially about sound cues. No shade, but here's my shade for the week. I love Mother's Day on social media. Everybody's mothers just look so beautiful, and it's just like, oh, you know, likes and hearts and love emojis and everything. Father's Day, not so much. Instead of buying your dad a mug or tools, how about a makeover? Woof. I mean, you can tell like all the reactions are a little bit less. It's like, oh, that's your dad. Or if you're going to buy tools, how about a sander for those bunions for toes we have to look at? At least my dad is gorgeous. Of course, my dad is actually my mom. Bloop. We have a new engineer. On that note, on the many notes we heard, Sean, say hello.
Hello. Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, first day on the job. He's doing great already. No, he's actually wonderful. You know, Kurt is a dad, so Kurt has left us. He will be popping in from time to time as a guest co-host, by the way, when we do sci-fi, Harry Potter, weird sex in the basement stuff. But Sean, you're going to be giving us a little starter. What do you have for us today?
Today I have a knock-knock joke. I'm not going to do the puns because, you know, that's Kurt's thing. So.
R.I.P. Never forget. Okay.
All right. Knock, knock.
Everybody. Who's there?
Europe.
Europe? Who?
No, Europe who?
Why did everybody look at me?
I'm sorry.
Because you're dressed in brown. Oh. On that note, that knock by JustFor.Fans. We've all been a little lonely during COVID, and so now we're ready to hit it. But if you don't want to hit it and you still want to be socially distant, head to JustFor.Fans, the industry award-winning adult site connecting content creators and their fans. Plus, they give back to the community. You'll have more fun at JustFor.Fans than you will have listening to that knock-knock joke. All right. Appearing at Oscars downtown in Palm Springs on Thursday at 7 p.m. for an evening on the Lanai Remembering the Golden Girls. We sold out the first show, so we're back for a second show. Get your tickets. It's a viewing party. It's a sing-along. It's trivia with really great prizes, by the way. Also, a Q&A with Season 1 writer Stan Zimmerman, who, we got him so drunk at the first show, he told us some behind-the-scenes stories about Betty White. You'd be surprised. Okay. Also, 2 people got laid after the show, so there's that. So go to OscarsPalmSprings.com for your tickets. Also, like us on Twitter and Instagram at On The Rocks On Air, and on Facebook, On The Rocks Radio Show. Send me an email. Book me for a wedding, funeral, quinceañera, bris. I don't care. I will show up. Info at OnTheRocksRadioshow.com. The show is presented by Straw Hut Media. You can watch and or listen to our over 250 episodes now for free at OnTheRocksRadioshow.com. Since it is for free, like, subscribe, whatever you got to do, wherever, just hit that little button. Hello to our listeners around the nation on every major podcasting platform, and we are on Facebook Watch, and of course, Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV on the Outlet.tv app. Okay, I'm tired. Let me welcome my guest co-host today, no stranger to On the Rocks, but a stranger to tweezers. Patrick Gomez, before becoming an executive editor at Entertainment Weekly, he served as editor-in-chief at the AV Club, senior editor at Entertainment Weekly, and a senior writer at People Magazine. He's hosted the AV Club's awards podcast, Push the Envelope, EW Podcast, EW on Set, and EW's Binge, as well as Sirius XM recap shows for Big Brother and Dancing with the Stars, and the national prime TV talk show Glitter Bomb. It was a great show. Had a wonderful co-host. me, by the way. And I think that's it. He has appeared on Today, Good Morning America, Access Hollywood, Entertainment Tonight, E! News, CNN, HLN, and more. And when he appears like on Good Morning America, he has to be there at 5 in the morning. He still looks better than any of us ever will at 3 p.m. in the afternoon. He's also an avid dodgeball player, but tonight he will not be dodging any of my questions. Please welcome PG-13, Patrick Gomez.
Thank you.
I feel like it's been a while.
It's been a minute. In all honesty, I drove to the
Has it been a while since you've been on air?
Yeah, it's been a while since I've been on air. No, I drove to you're in this fancy new studio, and I drove to the wrong one. So I'm very glad to be back, and it's very good to see you.
Well, we joked because we're like, today's our Latinx in Pride theme show, and we're like, oh, he's on brown people time. And then Curly was like, no, it's certain Latinx people because half of them are early and half of them are late.
That's true. My mother will be 45 minutes early to anything. Oh, yeah. My dad will be 3 hours late, but my mom will be 45 minutes early.
That's funny because I have such anxiety to be early. I hate to be early. Like if a movie starts at 10:05, I'll get there at 10 because I feel anxious if there's like time to waste.
Well, if it's at AMC, you could show up 45 minutes later and the movie still hasn't started.
Oh, girl. I went to my first in-person movie theater experience. Only people in the whole theater. It was fantastic.
Nice. What did you see?
Cruella.
Oh, it was very good.
Usually I don't like anything, like notoriously. I enjoyed it. It was a good matinee.
Nice.
Evening, matinee, perfect. Cinematography
I guess
was great.
Cruella was my first back in, and then I saw In the Heights the following weekend. So
I saw In the Heights at home.
It needs to be. I saw it at the Chinese, and it was full, and everyone was applauding after every number, and like laughing and crying, and like that's how you need to see it. Because I actually went to a press screening beforehand in a theater with like 5 people in it, and I was like, I love the stage show. I've seen the stage show 3 times, and I was like, it's okay. And then I saw it with like everyone, and I was like, oh, like you get wrapped up in the magic of it all, and that was fantastic.
Okay, we're gonna talk about In the Heights later.
Okay.
But see, to me, that doesn't mean it's a good film. If you can't enjoy it on your own, if you need all of that, then is it really a good film?
Well, we can talk. If we're going to talk about it later, we can talk about it.
Because
there is something I particularly had an issue with that we can talk about. But overall, I enjoyed it.
I mean, I enjoyed it. Did I think, oh my God, no.
Oh, I thought the musical numbers were. We'll talk about it later.
Choreography was. Okay. So I want to know exactly, because we've known each other for so many years, and I've seen you head of this, head writer here, on the red carpet for this, everywhere, and now you have this title that I have to actually like type out more letters, executive editor. What does an executive editor at Entertainment Weekly do? Like, what is your job?
I mean, so as you mentioned, I was previously a senior editor, and the meaning in media, I mean, you know this. In media, like you could call somebody a producer. That means 10 million different things. They could be
get your lunch.
They could be fresh out of college and getting your lunch, which is a totally great job to have. Or they could be like running the whole shebang. And so, you know, the titles are fancy, but the work essentially comes down to we help curate what's going to happen in the magazine. And so I was previously a senior editor. I'm now coming back in as the title. Basically, I'm my own old position's boss, which is nice. It's nice for me because I feel like important, and that's cool. But
you are important.
It's also I hope that it feels good to our senior editor who has my old job, because I know exactly what they do, and so I'm able to like help them. I walked in and I was like, how do I make your life better and easier? And like that's how I try to be a manager. And so this is a bit more of a managerial role. Like I'm dealing with more of the bigger picture stuff. And so, you know, where I used to be like in the depth in with all the writers, being like, okay, exactly what is this page going to look like, with like, okay, a third of a page going to the story and a fourth. And I'm still involved in that, but it's much more like I may have dealt with like 10 pages in the magazine before as a senior editor, but like been really, really involved. Mm-hmm. And now I'm having more of an overall look at maybe half the magazine, and looking at it more from a bird's eye view and helping negotiate bigger stories and covers and all that kind of stuff. So I'm the one that's like, you know, going back and forth with so-and-so's PR rep saying like, well, we need you to do a photo shoot and we need it to be 4 hours. And they're going to come back and say, well, we can only do 2 hours. And we'll say, well, let's land at 3. And then, you know, eventually it'll be 6 hours because somebody's late or something.
So have you gone from having a cubicle to having an office?
Well, we're not in the office right now, so I haven't been back in because I've only been back in this title since mid-May. So we have not been back in the office yet. We only have like, because we're open floor plans, so there's only like 3 offices for the entire brand. So I doubt I'll have one of those. But honestly, like It's fine. I love every single person. Like, I was gone for a year and a half. I worked at a site called the AV Club.
Yep.
Loved my work there. Got to come on in the show when we were doing it remotely while I was there. Loved my work there. Loved the team there. But by the time I came back to EW, it was pretty much almost exactly the same staff. There'd been some people that left, but most of them are all the same. So they're my friends and family. And so like I wouldn't want to be like in some gilded cage. Like, I'm fine to be sitting amongst everyone.
I'm so happy that you stayed skinny during COVID. The rest of us did
I
not.
lost weight during COVID. It's because I wasn't drinking as much.
Sean, the show's over. This gets me every time. It's like, everybody is like, oh, we all gained weight during COVID. I'm like, yeah, yes, we did. Postmates, And then I see all my friends, because now we're all back in nightlife, and I'm like, you did not, you bitch. I lost weight. How dare you?
It's mainly muscle weight, but I lost about 5 pounds.
Wait, my God, I have a glass of water and there's another pound. So obviously there's been a big focus on LGBTQ personalities in Hollywood and entertainment news, even before Pride. I mean, how can we not? Like, every week there's more people coming out of the closet on every alphabet, which is great. It's not just gay anymore. There's every alphabet being represented. But what kind
Not
of...
just every letter of the alphabet, every alphabet.
Yeah, true. There's like a sorority. Now that's an identity now, But what kind of conversations are happening behind doors at a magazine? What is the strategy for going after the LGBTQ market as well as representing them fairly? I mean, is it a big conversation, or is it just like, okay, it's a pride issue, or is it just regular now part of programming, so to speak?
Yeah, I think if you asked me that question 10 years ago, the answer would have been like, okay, we're going out of our way to make sure that we're representing this community.
Maybe even 5 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, even 2 years ago. I think while last summer made us take a deep look at how Black Americans are treated, I think that it was a watershed moment for just like representation in general and how we think and talk about representation. And so there's a lot of discussion about like, you don't want what you do to be performative. You don't like, this is no dig on anyone because visibility matters. And so like, I'm not digging on any company that changes their logo to a rainbow during Pride Month, because
we're actually talking about that. Boop.
That is representation, and I do think that matters. That matters to say like, we don't care if we're going to get hate mail, like we're going to put this out there, but we in media and we have an opportunity year round to represent LGBTQ plus people and content. And so like, we really look at it. The last thing we would want is for our Pride issue to be the one time that we highlight queer artists. And so it really is a conversation that we have year round. It's something that we've had a large discussion about. One of the things that I'm super proud of, I was not there for most of it, but I'm super proud we realized the other day, because it was totally not a conscious decision, that every person on our cover from the beginning of the year through now has been a BIPOC person. And the photographer has been a BIPOC person, and that was, some of it was conscious. We did that like for the LGBTQ issue, we did that in particular, but the other issues, it just happened that way, and we are so proud that that's the case.
I love when that happens. Because these are people that are out in the news regularly. And so this is the kind of diversity that we're seeing reflected. And like I said, there's people coming out every week, every month. So it's like, any publication, any media outlet needs to have that on staff to be able to write these stories effectively and know what to even say. And, now we know you have to be politically correct and you have to be sensitive to so many different issues. You have to have those members on the staff. So it's not just focusing, on the magazine on covering and interviewing people from the community, but it has to be by the people too.
Well, yeah. And that's something that we've been doing a lot more recently is if we feel like we don't have somebody on staff that can authentically represent the voice of the piece, we will go out and find someone. So it would used to be like, well, this person is a huge fan of the show. That matters, and that matters for a lot of stuff. But if I look at our LGBTQ issue, we went out and asked for free. We had a few staffers who are LGBTQ write some of the stories, but then some of the stories we felt like authentically needed a Black LGBTQ person to write, and so we had Ira Madison III come in and write our Little Nas X. Little Nas X.
That was such a white woman man. Little Nas X.
Yes, exactly. We had him come in, and we had other people come in and write other pieces because we felt like it we needed that authentic voice behind it. And so that's something that is something that we've been thinking about a lot more consciously over the past year. But like I said, some of the elements, I'm very grateful, have been totally organic and didn't need thinking. It was just something we were already doing.
Okay, now what's the scoop on all the major studios have been streaming their movies? We know HBO Max and Warner Brothers. That's how I saw. I wouldn't have gone to see Cruella out in the theater because I got so used to watching it at home, but it was kind of an event, I guess. What do you think the future?
Are you saying you got to go for free?
No, girl, I paid, but the popcorn was free. But do you think that movie theaters are going to go away, or they're going to become less, or are we going to forget that we were watching these big movies on the small screen and then just focus on major theater releases?
I think there's some stuff that's not going to go. You can't put things back in the box, and so I think that there's going to be. There was already a lot of people that would wait to watch stuff at home. I mean, it's expensive to go to a movie, and if you've got a family,
parking, movie tickets, concessions, forget it.
Yeah, I mean, and if you've got a family of even just 4,
even a date.
Yeah, even a date. I mean, a date is easily $100.
Easy.
You
sweat when they start to order like the large popcorn and then the nachos and then the hot dog, and you're like,
exactly. What I hope comes out of it is that people are more excited about making it an event when you go to the movies. Like, I can't tell you how many. One of the reasons that I'm very sad living here in LA and knowing that the ArcLight is not going to be the ArcLight as we once knew it, is that the ArcLight made going to the movies feel like an important event. It made it feel like something that you put your phone down, you don't talk during it. They made it feel like it was like an old, like how all our parents used to get dressed up when they flew, if they got on a plane or went to a show.
When I was a kid, you had to wear a suit. You wore a suit even to Disneyland. My grandma had us in a suit. On the plane in a suit, to any theater in a suit, to a nice restaurant in a suit.
Yeah, and so what I loved is that the ArcLight was able to like hold on to that a little bit. They only had 3 trailers beforehand. They had somebody come out and introduce the movie like one of the staffers comes out and talks.
Or a celebrity would pop in every now and then.
Yeah, a celebrity would pop in, and so I hope that people lean into that and saying, well, if I'm just going to watch the movie, I could watch it at home. But if I go to the movies, I want it to feel special. And so I hope that we lean that way, because I know that the ArcLight is at least currently not going to be owned by the team behind the ArcLight originally because of the pandemic. And there's talk about AMC popping in there, and I hope AMC
Netflix
uses it as an opportunity. Netflix already has it's a theater in.
But I heard
Hollywood.
that they were at least looking at the Sonorama Dome.
They might take just that, and that would be special to be able to do
sense.
screenings and stuff there. But I know, and I know he's said publicly that they would have looked at it if they didn't already have that theater, the Egyptian theater. If they didn't already own the Egyptian theater, they would have looked at ArcLight as a whole purchase.
Egyptian theater, like if you come to LA, visit the Egyptian theater, but living in LA, I mean, I only go there for the anti-MAME screening every year, and that's it, because...
Well, they do a lot of festivals there, too, which are nice, but, like, getting there, it's right in Hollywood and Highland, and it's weirdly, like, tucked away.
It's weird, and then you have to take a picture with Spider-Man and buy colored contact lenses and get a tattoo. I mean, it gets expensive. All right, what's been your guilty pleasure watching during COVID?
Oh, man.
You're like, oh, God, I watched that, but...
Yeah, well, you know what? It's like... It's not even during COVID, because I watched it before COVID too, but Holy Moly just came back on ABC, and
Are you kidding?
I'm obsessed. I watch every episode. It's so funny. It's like, it shouldn't work. It should be the type of show that
It's well hosted.
It's well hosted. And I like Rob Riggle's hilarious, but I normally only want like Rob Riggle to pop up in a scene, and then that's enough. He co-hosts this whole show.
His wife says the same thing.
He co-hosts this whole show, and it's hilarious. I feel so bad for Jeannie Mai. She plays. It's for those of you that aren't familiar, it's mini golf but eventized, and basically it's Wipeout but with a mini golf.
Love it.
It's so funny. And I love it. It makes me laugh, and the jokes are so cheesy and punny, and that's my total sense of humor. I'm such a cheeseball. I'm not a dad, but like dad jokes are my thing. So that's my guilty pleasure, I guess.
Plus, I mean, during summer, we all got inundated with heavy LGBTQ content, the documentaries, the shows, and it was like, let's watch some silly programming just because it's on TV. Not everything has to be so heavy. You know what I mean?
Agreed. And so I love that. I will also say another one of my shows, it's not even a guilty pleasure. It's just like something that like I wouldn't have thought I would have been obsessed with, is the History Channel now has this like docuseries called The Food That Built America.
Okay, so you and my mom need to hang out. She watches that. It's like when I'm there watching it, it is fascinating.
It's fascinating, and now they have like a new one that's like snack sized, where they basically just repurpose the same stories but do them in 30-minute formats, and it's fantastic. And I watch every single one of them. It's great.
It's great because you get to see like the history of like Kentucky Fried Chicken, but also how they made like a Twix, and the history of like Hershey and how he couldn't get the recipe right, and he was broke, and he was like, I'm done with chocolate, and then he's obviously not done with chocolate.
Yeah.
And also, the guy who started KFC was a jerk, by the way.
He like killed someone.
I mean, and he was just like a jerk. He was not friendly, and it's like, but goddamn those biscuits. Goddamn. All right, we are going to talk to our guest of honor, Curly Velasquez, right when we come back. And we are back. Woo! Introduce to you, probably don't need to introduce to you, Curly Velasquez, most well-known as an Instagram star and Vogue icon who's most recognized for his work at BuzzFeed. He started his career as an assistant for fashion icons David LaChapelle and Jeremy Scott. He worked his way up at BuzzFeed.com from the kitchen to being a top creative lead and has grown into a recognizable face with the Latinx community that can be seen on Stars, Vita, and E's What the Fashion? Please welcome Curly Velasquez. Okay, I just have to say, and I have to tell our viewers, go to his Instagram. It's like a model shoot. Like, you can make a trip to, like, Whole Foods or even the 99-cent store into, like a modeling shoot. But this is how he dresses on a regular basis. It's not like photo shoot time, let me put my plumage out. This is just, like, who you are.
Yes, I appreciate that so much. Yeah, I, get dressed at home for myself. Somebody today, I'm obsessed with colognes and smells. And
I recognize your cologne. It's an older scent, right? It's like a conservative scent?
No, it's a oud. It's called Oud of Gold, and Frederick Maw. They're both two really bougie scents.
Oh, I thought it was like Stetson from 9 to 5.
Oh my God, no.
It has a very classic scent to it.
Yes, well, it's like, it is supposed to be like this rich. I wanted to feel like a little prince when I wore it, But I was talking about how I will go home and I get naked and, I shower. I get naked in the shower. And then I put like colognes on.
Is that what you're supposed to do?
Yes.
I mean, I've been going in
people.
the shower.
No.
Although, if I could wear socks in the shower, I
never
would. I mean, I've seen most of my friends more nude than I've seen myself, but another OnlyFans. Okay.
No, but I love to doll up. So I'll put like lotions on and colognes on, and I just sit on my couch by myself naked and just enjoy myself.
Well, I think that's what you should do, and we're going to talk about how you center yourself, because not only are you out there in the social eye and all this energy given towards the public, I feel that you, over the years, because you and I have known each other for many years, have become very reflective and actually a confident person because of that self-reflection.
Yes.
If I have 10 minutes to spare, I get nervous, and I will never be naked hanging around my house, by the way.
Not even by yourself? Like, not even?
No!
Oh, I love it.
I don't need to see that!
If I didn't have a dog, I would do it a lot more.
Oh, I do it in front of my dog too.
I don't mind doing it in front of my dog. I'm just like afraid of like
something happening.
Yeah.
Well, this show took a turn. Our apologies to PetSmart.
I really like your jacket a lot, by the way.
So, okay.
We're gonna talk about this jacket, but go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say about my fashion, because you know me. There was a time it would always be pocket square, whatever. Over COVID, it was just ridiculous to go through all that. So now this is my new brand.
Oh, I love that.
And I have a different bomber. I have like 40 bombers
Wait,
now.
why don't you hit me up too if you ever want to go shopping for a new look? That is like one of my
Because you'll be like in the skinny girl section, and they'll be like, "Meh."
I'm literally wearing like a 3XL blazer.
Oh, thank you. Wow. That's a compliment. But you're still handsome. It's like, bitch, I never said I wasn't. God damn. Body positivity.
But I was gonna say
God.
it was so we mentioned Glitter Bomb earlier, the show we did together. The show was very successful.
We were successful.
The show was very successful. It may not. Anyway,
we're gonna talk about that because I think it was pandering in many ways, and I think that's why it didn't work. But we're gonna.
I actually don't think. Well, we can talk about that because
Yeah.
I actually think the opposite. I think it didn't. It didn't pander to the audience that it needed to pander to the most, and that is why we are not there anymore. So anyway, focusing on you, when we were on the show, getting him, because we were like, we want it to be young and fresh, and Alexander's whole look used to be like complete suit and tie.
Yes, I remember.
Like
Very refined.
Very refined, but like black, all black, and then the tie would maybe be like a dark maroon, and it's like on and great look. Like when you go out, he always look polished and nice. But on TV,
but I look like Gomez Adams. I mean,
yeah, like on TV, you want like bright, vibrant colors. Getting him in anything that was lighter than maroon.
Color.
But this is so lovely. So I'd like to think that at least, like, you walked away from Glitter Bomb with at least the idea that you could wear color. Because we put him in a color. We were like,
no, it was not that show.
You looked incredible. Although then I would say, love Mama Rose. But we had been like, oh my God, you look great. And you were like, maybe I do. And your mom walked in and was like, that should be black. And we were like, no.
That's where it comes from. What about earth tones?
Oh my God.
Wait, I don't mess with color either. So the only color that I do is earth tones. It's the only color that I feel comfortable in.
I mean, Glitter Bomb by the end of the season had me in like pink and light pastel jacket.
Fun.
Or no, I looked like
was the outfit
a gay Mr. Rourke.
No, what was the outfit you wore?
Bumblebee.
Bumblebee.
Actually,
bright yellow. You looked amazing.
I think we have a picture of Patrick in his Bumblebee costume.
Oh my God.
And I had to. There we go. I had to find this. I was like, when I saw this, I was like, oh, remember when I wore the Bumblebee costume?
Yes. That looks
little
fantastic.
Patrick Gomez.
I will say, okay, so I grew up in Houston, in a little town inside of Houston called Bel Air, and you could see behind me, that's our front door, our screen door. It was like this weird, just like light poop brown. And there's this fantastic woman who owns like a ton of, she's like this Latina lady, and she owns like all this property all over Houston. So like good on her. But that color, it's like her brand. Like every house she owned was that color. You could drive through neighborhoods and find that house that was that weird poop brown.
Wow.
And that was ours. And it was this tiny little like 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom house. And it was so old that like every time there was thunderstorms, which was like literally every day in Houston, the whole thing would shake. Like when it would happen, like me and my mom and my godmother lived with us after like we would all like huddle in one room because it would get like scary because the whole house would shake. Anyway, that was that house.
That's a sweet memory though.
Yeah.
And also like I love brown, so I would probably be that lady that would paint all my houses brown. I love earth tones.
I'm also sure it was like the
brown
cheapest
was kind of
paint color.
Who's mad at that? She's a property owner.
Well, but plus in Houston, I mean, there's a lot of dust or something, right? I mean, it's Texas.
It's not the Dust Bowl.
In my mind, it's like there's like a tumbleweed and there's Patrick in his
where are you from
Bumblebee
again?
costume.
Here, basically.
So let's talk about this. So,
Samesies.
we're focusing on Latinx and the LGBTQ community. I don't think the three of us could be more different from our cultural backgrounds, also the way that we were raised. So I wanted to kind of start the show with you kind of telling us the story of your family, each of us, and how the Latin culture played a part in our growing up or didn't play a part in growing up. I wasn't Mexican until I was in college. I was like, oh, I'm Mexican.
Amazing.
No, I mean, that's not true.
You're like Lenny Kravitz.
Yeah, I was like, what's a taquito? But Curly, like your family came over from El Salvador during the 80s, during the El Salvadorian Civil War.
Yeah, so like some of them came over right before the Civil War, and then my mother came over during, and they all came over like undocumented, which is something I'm really proud of. And I talk about all the time. My grandma talks about how she would cross the desert with her. She crossed the desert with her best friend in heels, and they lied to the men in their lives. They're like, we're going for a walk, and literally walked to Los Angeles.
That is the most badass thing
right?
I've ever heard.
That's like Paris and Nicole. Like,
they were both so dope. My tia Alicia, who was like her best friend, and she passed away. Like when you see photos of them, my tia Alicia has long black hair, and they're like in tiny little tops, and they're little. They're just so beautiful. I get really emotional thinking about like the beauty of the women in my family. Well, my whole family. My dad came under a bus with the luggage. He said he passed out from the heat.
Oh
my mom always talks about how like she doesn't remember much, but she remembers crossing as a kid. She would say she crossed the river, and I asked her again, and I'm like, can you tell me about the river? And I always pictured her at, like J-Lo and Mi Familia, like holding on across the river on a boat with
all
the dog.
tears,
Yes,
all the tears.
with like her son Chucho, and she's like she falls off the boat, and then I asked my mom like, what was it like? And she's like, oh, we just walked across. There was no water. So like I'm like, so
there was a drought.
there was a drought, but it doesn't really take away from like the journey or anything, right? And then they settled in Hollywood, where we had another, I think a friend or a tia who was a cleaning lady.
Like a tia or a tia?
Like a tia. I think she was one of our tias. I think somebody came over before.
I love how we just said the same word 6 times. We know. Like,
I have no clue. I was like, I just heard the same word 6 different times. You have Tourette's?
You meant like a person that was like
somebody you call tia.
Is it like an aunt or an auntie?
Yes, exactly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So like a tia or a tia.
So they like a tia or a tia. No, so they settled in Hollywood of all places. So I'm literally, my whole life has been off of Vine. So we're from Melrose and Vine. I went to school there. I got baptized there. That's our market. That's our local mercadito on the store. Like BuzzFeed Studios opened up on Vine at our old Pick and Save where we used to get our Valentine's Day cards.
That's a circle of life.
Yes, it's so weird. I mean, I'm literally like a small town Hollywood bumpkin, I would say. Is bumpkin still is bumpkin's bad to say? I don't know. It sounds like it's. I did read.
Is that a bad?
I don't think it has like
I don't
connotations to a culture, so I think it's okay.
Okay.
Well, okay.
Whatever. Anyway, so I'm basically never left this town. I'm a little like.
Send your hate email to Patrick Gomez at.
I said it.
But yeah, I never left. I like stayed here, and I'm like a full. My parents did move to Burbank when I was in high school, and they moved us here, and I did not.
Did you feel abandoned?
I did. I know. Oh my god, no. I came with them. I went to school, like one of the schools out here, but the culture shock was so real.
Burbank, from what I understand, I
The
dated
culture
somebody.
shock of moving to Burbank,
Yeah.
which show if you're not
Hollywood.
an Angelino, like is just like 3
It's
miles,
literally
not even
like 10 minutes away. But the culture shock from Hollywood, and don't forget that like from Hollywood and Burbank was just so different. I went from in Hollywood, you don't make eye contact with people. You look down, you get to where you need to go, you say what's up if you need to, but you mind your business. In Burbank, people are like, "Good morning." I said, "Good morning." Now I'm that person, by the way. Now I've grown up to become this person that's like, "I said good morning. Look at me when I'm talking to you."
Yeah, if you're trying to say it's like New York, it's like
just
it's
gonna say.
like living in Manhattan versus like living in a suburb outside of the city.
See, I don't know New York like that. New York, I always cry. I always cry when I'm in New York. I've always lost
Love New
something.
York.
I never know where I am. I'm like, I'm underground again. When am I? And then I'm always like,
public transport can't
Yes.
do that. Remember?
Oh.
I almost got
Oh my
abandoned and
God.
just
Yes.
went back to the hotel. I was like,
but I'm always like, am I still in Manhattan or no? Am I in Manhattan right now? Where am I?
I loved our trip to New York though.
that was a special memory. Like, I mean, that was just
That was
fun.
one of the best experiences of our.
What
our
happened?
Bombness.
What did you guys do?
So we were there to film for Latin Fashion Week.
Yeah.
And it was fantastic. It was fantastic also getting to what you're talking about, like just to be around so many creative Latino, the Latinx community being creative and just constantly surrounded by that art.
Yes.
Was fantastic. But then also just like to get to explore New York and see Alexander freaking out on the subway.
I mean,
because he was like, "Can we take a car?" And we were like, "A car will take 45 more minutes."
I
And I was
literally
like,
will take. I'll go with you. I take a car everywhere.
Like, even when I was in Europe, I was like, I can't do this. And it's like everybody does it. But it was good that I did it because I was raised, and we're talking about how we were raised.
yes,
I was
we did.
raised in OC. And though
Not the OC.
the OC, and talk about culture shock.
Yes.
I mean, I was one of the only Latin kids in the whole school in Southern California. The only other Latins on the school campus, all growing up, were the janitors, right? Or the gardeners. That was just it. So my mom, so protective and loving, worked super hard to put me in the
Love
best
Mama
schools and all that.
Rose.
But she also, like, took such good care of me that I never rode a bus in my life. Even the school bus, it was like... and so I grew up very spoiled because that was her way of showing love and, wanted me to be taken care of. And plus my sense of direction. And
Same.
I'll get lost in my own house. Like, I'm
Yes.
terrible
I have
at
no sense
that.
of direction.
But what I love about your story, we've had such a tarnished version of what immigration is, especially because of the last administration. And so...
And this one.
I mean, yeah.
Well, yeah.
It's better
Don't
on
come.
paper. Or it's not better on paper. It's better in optics.
Yes.
On paper, it's.
Yes. I mean, the whole thing is messed up, But, but continue.
If you have, I don't know if you were going to bring this up later, Alexander. So I'm sorry to bring something up ahead. But if you haven't checked out Curly's thoughts on his conversation with the White House administration,
This was awesome. It was the very first social media kind of summit at the White House, and you were part of that. Can you share
That was
that?
yeah.
This blows my mind.
But I interviewed Vice President Kamala Harris, and that, by the way,
Where was I?
That was last year, like
I didn't
during
even
the
see that.
campaign. Yeah, and then this year I spoke to the press secretary, which was really cool.
Yeah, she's awesome.
But it's really weird because I feel like I was discovered in the kitchen, right? I worked my way up. I just so happened to, at the time, be one
there's
of
the title of your memoir.
I should be. Well, I was thinking about something about like Out of the Kitchen on Vine or something. You know what I mean? Or something like memoirs of a verse, something, whatever. I don't know.
Verse. That's a
Doesn't
joke.
mean that I'm verse. I'll show you later. It's fine.
I feel your
Sponsored by
chakras.
JustFor.Fans.
I just have to tell you, I'm not breaking any news. Curly went on a date with somebody who grabbed him and was like, I feel your chakras.
He grabbed my gooch and he said, "Do you know what? Everybody knows what a gooch is.
It's a character from Auntie Mame, of course.
Oh my god, it's literally where like your cahoon would be, but it's like underneath your balls. And he grabbed me, and he
It's
was
your
like,
taint.
"It's your taint." And he was
Can
like,
we not?
"I'm feeling your root. Your root chakra." And look, I believed him. I felt him.
That's such LA
I felt him
bullshit.
feeling my-
Don't ever fall for that. You that come to LA.
He's
If
from
someone
the
talks to you,
OC. Look, people from the OC don't trust the OC. They've been haters since day one.
yeah, we are actually. There's still Trump booths, if you can believe
exactly. The OC is like sugar-free
Although
LA.
didn't they go blue in the last election?
it. No.
I think they did.
Did they go blue? I feel like I saw that too.
I don't think
There's
they went
still
blue
trucks going
locally,
around.
but they
There's
went
still
blue.
Trump
They
booths
went
on
well,
every
yeah, but I
street
think
in
they went
OC.
blue. I think they went. I
disgusting.
think they went Biden blue.
This is why LA kids have always hated on OC kids. We was like,
Hey,
oh God, are they wearing shorts and sandals again?
So when my family,
in summer, groundbreaking.
Oh, exactly.
you know how you shared, and this is like you have been part of LA culture,
Yeah.
and talking about immigrants coming over. It's not easy to come over.
It's not,
especially
yeah.
for our generations that came over before us and,
Yes.
and set the scene. My family came over from Mexico to El Paso, and they had to stay at a hotel for like 8 months. In all, like 8 people crammed into a small hotel waiting for this. My great-grandfather did carpentry work, and he created a different type of doorway in El Paso, Texas, that you can still see on a lot of the architecture out there. So that's he brought his family. My great-grandma was so tired of filling out the forms and all that, she gave like 3 of the kids the same birthdays, even though they're just not. So my grandma always had 2 birthdays, her actual birthday and then like her legal birthday.
That's very normal too for a lot of Latin folk. My mom has 2 birthdays, so does my dad.
And then your saint's birthday or saint's day or whatever.
Oh, yeah. I think my mom might have that too, actually.
Yeah. And then my grandfather worked for NASA. He was one of the very first engineers. So he,
Wow.
he put himself through school. He worked 3 jobs to study. And so they came to California as he worked in the Pasadena section. They moved to OC. And him being part of the first engineer of NASA, he wasn't doing too shabby.
Yes.
Huge house, whatever. And that's the environment that my mom grew up in. But at that time in Southern California, being Hispanic or even having an accent was just, you were the maids, or you didn't talk about it. And my grandma was in a huge depression because her family system was gone, and family was your friends. I mean, that's who you hung out with. Also, it just wasn't, it wasn't part of the culture. So growing up, I wasn't taught my Hispanic heritage out of shame. It was just out of necessity. This is how you survive in school. This is how you progress. This is how you get
That's real.
jobs.
That's
This
real.
is how you do.
Yeah.
So growing up, I didn't come into contact. You know what really started was actually Glitter Bomb. It's like, God, we're saying that we're Latinx in front of the camera. We have to do this research. And so it's later in life. It's seeing programs, by the way, even Coco, which, Disney's Coco, it opened my eyes to a whole part of my family that we had heard the stories but not really enjoyed and been enriched by. And what I love about the programming that's on TV, from In the Heights to some of these series and all that, is the stories that are coming out about immigration, about the beauty and the art and the hard work that people bring over, whether you are the gardener or whether you are speaking to our current generation or whether you're an artist or whether you're an actor. And I want to know about your kind of growing up. I know we've kind of talked about it, but I want you to share with the audience your Latin culture.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's interesting to hear you say that you felt that in Southern California the rule was to assimilate as much as possible, because the narrative that I've always felt. So basically, I grew up in Texas. I grew up in Houston with my mom. My dad lived in Austin, and they were both born and raised in San Antonio. And then I moved here to go to college. And when I moved here, I was exposed to so much Latin culture that was like, no, like, you don't assimilate, you hold on to it for all it's worth. And so that was the opposite. Texas is like Tex-Mex. Like you look at food. Here, you have Mexican food. Now you're starting to get because a lot of liberal Texans have moved. Oh my God, it's the best food ever. There's a new Tex-Mex place that just opened on Sunset Boulevard called Justin Queso's, which again,
that sounds legit.
love my dad punny humor. So I'm missing Kurt. Love knock knock jokes too, but love my punny humor. It was all about not just assimilating, but also a fusion of culture. And then I moved here.
I get that. I'm making fun, but
No, totally.
Yeah.
I mean, I always think about, like, why do y'all say queso instead of queso? But I do enjoy the food.
it's like we say Los Files.
Well, I don't say Los Feliz.
Good. You said them straight.
No, I'm kidding.
I actually don't like, it's a weird thing like that. For some reason, I it's like I have to consciously say
queso.
no, Los Feliz. For some reason,
Los
that's one.
Feliz.
You know
Los
what's weird is also the other one, because I didn't. Speaking of like how you wanted to assimilate, you want to do this. So I wasn't taught. I learned all the Spanish I know aside from what I picked up just overhearing, because my mom learned both at the same time, Spanish and English, when she was a child.
Same.
My dad
best way to do
learned
it.
Spanish completely first, didn't learn English till school. They didn't want me to have an accent. They were like, because if you had an accent, like that was something to be ashamed of. So they didn't teach me Spanish at all. So everything I picked up was either what I overheard or what I learned in school. By the time, luckily in Houston, which I'll get to in a second, is incredibly diverse. So I learned it in school very young compared to how some other people learn other languages. But for like growing up, it was always like a situation where like you wanted to be as white as possible.
Wow.
And I think that also like it's this interesting thing, because I think like now growing up, if I'd had a curly to look at, I think there's so much more of like my heritage that I would have embraced. And it makes me I don't blame my parents, because my parents were setting me up for success in the best way that they knew possible. So I've always been like, oh, I wish I knew more. I wish I knew Spanish more fluently. Like I can actually understand about 90% of Spanish, but I don't feel comfortable speaking Spanish
I'm right
because I'm like, because I don't want to, because it's the same thing that anyone that immigrates here feels, where like, I don't want to conjugate the verb wrong. Like it's I know what the verb is,
And
but
English is a bitch to learn, from what I understand.
Yes,
Because
exactly.
how many
It's
weird
way-
things do we have?
It's way harder than Spanish.
Yeah.
But like the main thing it's in my own head about not wanting to speak Spanish like out loud is like I'll know the verb, but I'm like, oh, am I conjugating it correctly? And the last thing I want to do is sound incorrect. And so
But you kind of have to, though. That's what we always talk about, too. Like, you know, you have to sound incorrect. And somebody hopefully will bring you in. Like, I always ask my mom, I always say my middle name should be ¿Cómo se dice? Because I'm always like, Mom, pero ¿Cómo se dice? And then sometimes I know these words and I forget. Like, the other day I was trying to say microphone. And I know it's micrófono, but I was like, microfonofia. And she's like, microfonofia? What are you talking about? But, like, you have to learn. But then my mom would be like, oh, ¿Cómo se dice da, 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 in English? And I tell her, and it's like this like beautiful exchange. And you know what I do too? Just whatever. I don't know if you still have this. I fake it. Like I pretend like I don't speak French, but I'll be like, s'il vous plaît, monsieur, donnez-moi un croissant. Like I'll fake it. So I do that in Spanish.
I do that all the time.
Like I'm like, oh, sí, ahí estaba yo. Fíjate que estaba caminando por la calle y me caí. Like I fake it. Like that's not really the way that that's how my parents talk, because they have a very Salvadoran accent. But you know, it's just, who cares?
Who cares? But I think that it's funny though, because one of the words that's that for me is actually, there's two. It's I always think of the word for snow cone and frying pan, which I now have ingrained in my head as the right ones. I always think of sartén and raspa first, and then I think of the word in English. And so
Who's using snow cone in a regular like?
I love me a good snow cone.
I love that you are.
But the long and short of it all is that like I grew up trying it wasn't come from a place of well, it was a little bit of a place of shame for my parents, and not even shame, just being like, I'm setting you up because like America needs you to be as white as possible, and that is how you
When we were kids,
succeed.
that was the environment.
I mean, it's
it
a
wasn't as
reality for
multicultural
people.
now. We didn't, like you said, we didn't see people like you, you know, on our phones and teaching us. When I look up
we
a
didn't
customer,
have phones.
well, yeah, but when I look up certain things, because if I'm writing an article or I want to sound educated in a discussion I'm going to have about being Latinx, I'll do a Google search, and more times than not, your videos with Pero Like, with
wow.
BuzzFeed pop up because you guys BuzzFeed. God, I'm so hungry, you guys. I'm on a crash diet. I'm so hungry. But the videos that you guys do are not just fun and quirky. A lot of times you talk about serious issues, but you also explain things so that we don't feel like idiots. And here's the difference I was going to say. And like you saying, you know, how do you say this? I'm sorry, but mainstream America is so unforgiving when they hear an accent or when they see somebody struggling with English language. They're like, God, speak English. This is America. It's like, how many languages do you know? Or at least they're trying. At least they are doing the work. And this is what gets me.
It's braver than I could ever hope to be.
Brave, yeah.
Right.
It's brave.
And so mainstream America, be a little bit more forgiving because they at least know more languages. The worst thing, I took a Europe tour with a bunch of Americans. They were yelling at somebody in Germany because the cashier couldn't speak English in Germany. And like, don't you, this woman literally said, don't you speak English? We're in Germany, bitch.
I mean, it's a fascinating thing too, right? Like assimilation is a real thing. I have always been of the school of like, if you're interested at sitting at the table of like Latinidad, come through and everybody is welcome. I think that's what we wanted to do with Pero Like, and even I have like a side platform that I started called New Latinx with a friend of mine. Because we wanted to highlight people who oftentimes get overlooked within our communities. Like, if you think that representation is bad on American television, Univision and Telemundo and all those other places are even worse. Like, you would never see a Black Latinx person or an Asian Latinx person in ways that are like the way that you would expect to see them in powerful roles.
I'm just going to throw a little, this is not even shade. This is a reality. I did not realize, because I was so out of the Latin culture, all of the bigotry that exists. Just like in LGBTQ, we all think that we're one big happy family. The bigotry that exists in our own community is mind-boggling.
Oh, yeah.
I experienced this in the last few years with the different sects. When we went to Latin Fashion Week, my eyes were just blew open when I saw all of the regions that are Latino, from South America to Spain to all of these cultures. Like, wow, it's so diverse. There's not like the Latin culture. It's so many different things. But I started to hear and experience some of the bigotry within different communities, such as Puerto Rican against Mexican, against El Salvadorians and all that. And I overheard some stuff when we were filming our show at a Latin-based network, some of the disparaging things that were being said about Mexicans when they didn't think that we could realize. I was astounded that this ugliness was happening on a Latin network.
There are some people that as a whole we make fun of, like Argentinians, we all make fun of them. And
they're so sexy. Evita, hello.
No, because they have a little bit, they claim to be like more European. And so we're like, all right, European. But I mean,
they had Nazis.
So we're just like, there's some Latinos that collectively it's okay to make fun of. But, and I'm just kidding, Argentina. Don't come find me. But oh my God, I was listening to Evita this morning. It's so really good.
That's my jam.
Shut up.
I have it in 8 different languages, by the way.
I want them to play it at my funeral. I love it so much.
Oh my God, I love that so much. But on the other side of that coin, what I will say about our experience in the show that we won't mention anymore, is ultimately we also realized that, and even looking here, it's like we have 3 Latinos that like are of similar skin tone, very different backgrounds, but all that kind of stuff. And one of the things that was discussed was we need to diversify. And so, and I think that that's something that's really difficult in the Latin community, which I'll get to. I have a question to ask in a second, but I'll finish this thought. In the Latin community, we're not that the Black community is a monolith, but I think that so much of the Black American experience, for awful reasons that I would not trade it for anything, like their culture was ripped from them, and so they developed this Black American culture. And in the Latin community, we don't have that, where like we do get to hold on to our heritage of where we came from and our specific journeys. And that's not to say that there are not people that are Black that live in America that are not recent immigrants that have different stories than people that have been here for hundreds of years for awful reasons. But I think that that's actually been something that's detrimental to us. We got to have a conversation with Justina Machado about this, where we do not have that unifying history that brings us together in a way that's unifying. And I think that that's to our detriment as a community to unify politically, to unify. And it's not a bad thing, because maybe we shouldn't. Maybe we should all be able to speak to like our individual experiences.
Absolutely. But I always say, when you talk about the United States and the lens of culture, race, and all the ways that we interact with one another, the United States lens is completely different than the rest of the world, right? Like, it doesn't mean that racism and colorism and all these things don't exist, because they do, and I think that they're equally as horrible in other countries. It's like a different villain in the same game almost, So it's like, yeah, considering all those things, you have to really think about the nuances and the differences. But you're right. I think that there are a lot of different things that make it so that we can't really unite. Because what is it like? somebody might be a little bit more darker than me, right, in our community. But I have a friend who's actually Colombiano. He's a little darker than me, but his dad is like a lawyer, and they live in the Hamptons. And I'm like, my dad came under the bus. Like, what? So there's different things that kind of go on in our culture that kind of make it.
There's blonde-haired, blue-eyes, Latinos all around, even in my own
well,
family.
you see that with when you were talking about Univision and Telemundo, like there, like the colorism it's gotten a little better, but not much.
Yeah, but that's the other thing too, is that like even the term white passing, I've learned that from Black Latina scholars that even that term is an erasure of Black identity. So even that is anti-Black. So, you know, saying that you're white passing is giving somebody who is white, who just speaks Spanish, a little bit more space to move and have even more privilege. So if somebody's white, they're just white. Like, so it's an interesting thing. But at the same time, you know, you think about, I've been called white left and right. And I understand that my skin is very light. But at the same time, I'm like, well, I'm not an American white person. I don't know that experience. I don't understand. And I've never walked into a room full of white people who have been like, you are clearly one of us. You know, like that's never happened.
Are you a Republican?
Exactly. Like, but it's a very nuanced thing.
Speaking of, never mind. I was going to say something that was going to give me a lot of hate messages.
Oh, man. I think that
Patrick at latv.com.
I think that our culture is born and we know this, out of genocide, you know, rape, colonization, really horrible, ugly things. And I think that hopefully we will get to a space of understanding and learning more about each other, understanding that I didn't know that Chicano literature was so relatable, because I was like, oh, I'm not really Chicano, I'm Central American. And then I read like Chicano literature, I was like, holy shit, that's our story. Like, I too have felt that way. So hopefully we get to a place as a community where we're like, understanding and holding each other accountable and holding ourselves accountable for how we may have been a point, like how we may have benefited from the system and how we may have oppressed others as well.
But even go ahead.
No, and this goes, we're talking about Latinx during Pride Month, and this goes towards the LGBTQ community as well. Don't just study stories within your own niche, whatever you subscribe to or identify as, and don't just subscribe to LGBTQ stories. I am so embarrassed as an American to just have found out about the Tulsa Massacre this year. Do you know how embarrassed I was? And do you know why I found out about that?
Does that mean you only watched Watchmen this year?
I was not well, no, and I know it covers it. I was
being cheeky.
No.
Regardless,
I know, but I didn't put two and two together. But History Channel, which has been my COVID best friend, by the way, who now have LGBTQ historians, by the way, on their history shows. I'm very happy about that. Did a whole series on the Tulsa Massacre, and I just sat there with my mouth hanging open. How could this have occurred? How could I not know about it until this year?
The worst thing is that it happened, but the very close second worst thing is that it was buried as much as it was. That is awful, and that
it
is
was
why
buried to us, not to that community.
Being from tech, but it even was. I can't tell you how many Black friends that I have. I'm not saying I have a lot of black friends and using that as a selling point for myself, but I can't tell you how many people I know that are Black that did not know that was something that happened either, and because we were not educated about it. And that's what's terrifying about all these bills that are being passed all over the place. My home state, like one of the worst offenders, about like saying, oh, we shouldn't teach that kind of stuff. And I love that in the same breath, these are the same people that are saying that we shouldn't take down Confederate monuments because we'll forget. Like that's the thing. Oh, do you only want to remember certain parts of history, and why are those the ones you want to remember?
That's exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
But we as a LGBTQ community also need to read and research stories about the Tulsa Massacre. We need to hear stories about the Latin Americans. We need to hear stories from other minority groups, from the Asian community. It's not just about us, especially during Pride. We have Pride. We're preaching to the choir, right? Yeah. We should use this opportunity to reach out to the other communities, which I think BLM this summer really did it, especially in LA. I think that we actually started to have conversations with our Black community. And so that was a definite positive. But at least we're having these conversations, and at least we're seeing programming in movies, on TV, documentaries. It's being talked about even on Fox News. These are issues that the new America and the new generation that especially, that watch BuzzFeed on their phones, don't watch TV. These are topics that are coming up.
Well, used to, right? Like, I mean, Well, we're now like BuzzFeed, the audience. We're getting a little bit older. Like now, the kids are all on TikTok.
I noticed. I was like, oh.
Yes, we're all a little older now. I was gonna say, yeah, I think it's really interesting to always look outside of your own culture to learn and to see how you connect. I just watched. By the way, I was gonna say I got dragged for my interview with the vice president recently because she made statements against Central Americans, and so people were like coming for me and being like, "You're a panderer. You gave her the keys to the community. Like you let her in."
Like years ago, basically.
Well, I mean, it was like a year ago.
Right, no, that's what I'm
Yes.
saying. Your interview, to link your interview to things she said, it's not like you greenlit
People will
it.
find and hate on you for anything.
But I'm very glad that people are asking the questions.
Yeah, but I'm happy that the conversation was starting. And look, it's people from my own community, people that I care about, people that I actually knew that were kind of dragging me. So I was like, it was hurtful because I was like, you could have DM'd me, we could have talked about this, and we could have done something really cool and
not
big.
in this culture. Got to put it out there. Got to be a keyboard warrior. Cancel
You know,
culture. You name it.
But I will say that it was really. Oh man, I was gonna bring it back to something because you said something.
I'm so sorry.
About, no, you said.
I'm so excited. Like
how
this is
people
a
are
real
getting
conversation.
TikTok, how people are doing something. You said something, and I wanted to
No,
say.
this is what the younger generation is talking about.
Yes.
You know, not necessarily, but even our parents and our grandparents are having these conversations because they have to. You can't hide from it anymore. It's not like being gay, you know, in the 70s or whatever, you just brushed it over.
Yeah.
You have to talk about these issues because it's forming the future of our nation.
I mean, I love it. I think that's one of the things that we're talking about. Like, how do you feel about pride? How do you feel about all these things? I'm like, you know, I remember, I'm sure you do too, like, in school, if you were like, oh my God, here comes the gay person, like you were still like, you would get bullied. Didn't that happen to you, or?
I didn't really know what gay meant, even
until what age?
I didn't come out till I was a junior in college. I didn't have my first gay sexual experience till 2 years. No.
2 weeks ago.
No, I feel like that from COVID. No, but 6 months after I moved to Los Angeles.
And
it freaked me out because I didn't even know.
Wait, so
it wasn't part of the language.
So did you just? Because actually, Curly knows my husband.
I love him.
What I love.
I went to their wedding, by the way. It was like super
Oh,
beautiful.
don't bring it up. It's going to be a sore subject.
Wait a minute. When I told Patrick he went to my wedding, you mean the wedding I wasn't invited? I'm the only person in Los Angeles that was not invited to Patrick Gomez's intimate wedding. And then you see the pictures, and they needed a drone and a crane to capture everybody that went to the wedding.
To be fair, Matt is like,
I'm totally
Matt
kidding,
has known
by the
me
way.
since I was like in the kitchen.
I'm
Matt has
teasing.
been like,
no, you
watching
work
me.
together. It's fine.
Yes, like,
You're
Matt,
more famous that he looked up your followers and saw you had more followers. It's fine.
But Matt and I have like this thing where we were in the early days of BuzzFeed, and
Yes.
Matt watched me grow as a person.
I'm kidding, but we still talk about it all the time.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, I mean, that's probably why I was there. And well, maybe we'll talk about that after when we're not on the thing. But it was super fun, and I did get hit on, which was nice.
Yeah.
Girl, you get
That's
hit
always
on.
nice.
You get hit on by like girls, boys, whatever. Anyway, okay. No.
A story about the wedding is that so we snuck away during like the reception. Everyone was dancing to like sign our actual like wedding contract. And what I love is that like literally, so the wedding was outdoors, but this was inside, and it was us and like two people we asked to be like there when we signed it, and the officiant. So we all are signing this stuff, and Curly just walks in and is like, "Hi," and we just love. We always talk about that. Like it's like this like four people and Curly, and we love that that's part of our story.
But that's Curly.
I didn't know that story. I love that. Oh, I love that
because you have
so
such a good
much.
energy, and it's just like Curly's part of everybody's family.
That makes me
So
so
we
happy.
talked about all these heavy issues. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to play Truth or Sip, and then we're going to delve into Curly's personal life and
my
what being an influencer really means when we come back. Okay, so Curly, we're going to talk about your sobriety because
Yes.
it's a really touching and one of your longer videos, by the way.
Yes, yeah.
But we're not going to talk about that quite yet because we've been deep and heavy. We're going to lighten things up a little bit.
Yes.
So, Sean, if you will, we're going to play a little. Take it away.
Truth
Or Sip on the Rocks with Alexander.
Oh my God. That photo.
I'd like to acknowledge as we head into Truth or Sip that Alexander has had so much of his mixer that he's now stealing mine.
Well, honey, I started off with like this much from last week.
Okay.
Okay.
What are
so
you drinking? What's in that?
vodka and then wild cherry.
Can I just you're so fancy with these printed glasses and
how about the printed flasks?
The printed
I love
flasks.
Alex.
This
They're
is how we do it.
lovely.
Oh, and the coasters. Don't forget the coasters.
Oh, the coasters. I also will hold up his magazine that he did the cover story
That's
for
for-
every week.
God,
Like this
you're
one.
so good. Yeah.
Oh, I've been paying attention.
I brought this for you, by the way.
Oh, well, I will take it home with me.
It's my resume. I'm like, hire
There
me.
you go.
We hire you freelancers, and I'm like, do you? Do you? Anyway, Curly, we're going to talk about your sobriety because I think it's really important, especially during Pride season in the LGBTQ community. It's a community that doesn't get a lot of voice, and there are so many triggers during Pride season. But we're going to talk about that. But in honor of Truth or Sip, Patrick and I are clearly partaking.
Go ahead.
So this is what we do. We ask you a question. You either have to answer us the truth, or you have to take a sip. Since you are not partaking, you have to sing. So truth or sing for you.
Okay.
It has to be a line from something. And
Oh my God, Evita.
you just
Why
gotta
can't I
sell.
just sip my soda?
Because it doesn't work that way, girl.
You're acting as though making
I
you
feel like-
wait. I love that Alexander acts as though taking a sip of an alcoholic drink is a punishment for him.
Honey, you don't know. I'm
know, but I have to
responsible.
work. My sober ass has to work and get my vocals down and
Okay, so truth or sip. Curly, you're first. What's a video that you made that you were like, did I really make that? Can I take it down? But
oh my
it's out
God,
there.
so many. Can I give you like the serious answer really fast?
Yeah.
So when you grow up on YouTube, essentially, which I did, I started
Yes,
in my
you did.
mid-20s and now I'm in my early 30s, right? I basically like have been thinking out loud in front of people for almost a decade, close to a decade. So there are a lot of things that I've said that I'm like, like not offensive, but I'm like, oh, I would never say that now.
But I think that's what people love about you and why you've become so popular over all of the influencers out there. Because you are very real and you've shared some real moments and your growth has been our growth.
And do you mean that you wouldn't have said it because that's something you would have held private, or something because you now don't feel that way?
Because I now don't feel that way. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm
we
very,
all have changed the way we thought.
It's just a thing where, back in the day, I used to be like, why are there so many girls at this gay bar? I can barely get to the bar and get a drink. Like, and now I'm like, oh, women should be everywhere. Like, literally, I don't care.
Women,
We're-
I feel like that's a whole different thing to open up because
That's
should
the
also
whole
be safe,
episode.
There should be safe spaces for everyone, and
Yes, but
sometimes, and this is not speaking for all women, but it's like sometimes not speaking for all women at all. People should let safe spaces be safe spaces, and if you're not going to make it a safe space, then you shouldn't be there.
Yes,
That's why
but
they
I-
have
and that
women-only
doesn't-
gyms. That's why they have
And that
women-only
doesn't
yoga
mean that women
classes.
shouldn't be there. It just means that you should
Right.
be
Yes.
respectful if you're there.
But I
And don't get drunk and throw up over my Gucci shoes with your third Pinot Grigio because you're getting married.
Stop talking about your gooch.
Look, cishet people, for sure, I get it that they can be a little annoying, but I just want to be like, oh, I have definitely changed from being like, "Meow," to like, whatever, who cares? I don't own this bar. Who gives a shit? I'm leaving it at 10:30 anyways.
But it is a very different thing when you're just tired. You want to be around your own people and just relax and feel safe. Yeah.
It's more about relaxing and feeling safe than your own people, I think.
Yeah,
But yes.
But I will say there's one that I do get really embarrassed
Okay,
about
I wanna
recently where they asked me to make a sandwich with my mouth in like 10-12 seconds, and I was like
I didn't
making
see
the
that one.
sandwich with my mouth, and I'm like, Curly, we're better than this. Like,
Yeah,
we
see-
like we're done. We don't need to be making sandwiches with our mouth anymore.
That's a video I would be like, no.
Like,
I mean,
poor
I'll wear a bee
thing.
costume.
Eat
and
a sandwich with
that's
my
it.
mouth.
I mean,
Well, I hope so. What else are you going to do?
I
Power
love
bottom?
His,
There goes
he-
the sandwich.
He said he loves a good dad joke, so that was a good.
Okay. Patrick, who's a celebrity that you've interviewed that you were like, don't need to interview them again? Hated it.
Oh, it's not so much hated it as much as just like, okay, like that was an experience that I had in my life. Ryan Lochte, I'm sure is a lovely person, but
Because he's so dumb.
it's maybe not dumb. Maybe it is. I don't know. It is more so that the question would be like, oh, you have this new. It was when he was going to have his e-reality show. Oh, you have this new e-reality show. Part of it is that you're launching a fashion line. Like, what made you want to do that? I really like fashion. Oh, when did you get into fashion? I'm not really sure. Like it was like there was 10 questions for what so I remember the piece. The piece ended up being it was because it was a quarter page in People magazine, and which is maybe 100 words, maybe. And I think I had to ask about 15 questions to get enough to fill that 100 words. And so that is not a dig against him. People aren't great on camera. People aren't great. They might
But
be
he had a whole reality show about him, so he should be good on camera.
It lasted barely a season, and there's
That's
many
true.
clips of his interviews, not with you, with other people, that it's, in fact, one of the newscasters got the giggles. She snorted
yes, I've
because,
seen that.
Yeah. But I had a top travel influencer on the show because he's muscly.
What about
and,
a bottom travel
and whatever.
influencer?
That's true. Yeah, what about the bottoms?
And
He's
so I
right
said,
here already. What do you mean?
so people, I'm a blouse. People, when I go on a first date and people take me home and we're like, "Okay, go," and they're like, "Okay, you go." And I'm like, no. But I had one of these whatever influencers because he is shirtless and Orbitz, gay Orbitz hired him,
Yeah,
whatever.
Like the gum?
No, the travel site.
Oh, like
I
it
was
wouldn't be
thinking
the
the gum,
gum.
too.
Yeah.
He probably couldn't chew gum and talk at the same time. He'd probably swallow it and then die. But his top tip for traveling, I keep saying top, but he was not a top, was to bring a smartphone.
I mean, good tip.
Good tip.
Wow, this is just getting worse and worse. Okay.
Again, top.
Okay,
Yeah,
Patrick.
yeah.
What headline subject won't quit, but it really should because you were totally over it, but you would still have to cover it?
Oh God, that's what I'd have to think about. I think to give you the best answer.
Meghan Markle.
No, I love Meghan Markle, and I think that's
cares?
fascinating.
I like
What's
Meghan too.
fascinating about it?
I think it's fascinating that this woman who was the first person of color that's part of the royal family.
Yeah.
Okay,
was
now you
treated very
worded that
differently.
right now. I seem like a jerk.
I went to IMAC in Hollywood too, at Immaculate Heart, which is like a
Every
really
American
cool...
is obsessed with this royal family. It's like
Well, we're
we
not
broke
saying
away
that,
from
we're
them for
obsessed with
a
her.
reason.
I'm upset. I'm not. I think the royal family is fascinating on their own, but I do think that it's fascinating watching how she is treated versus how Meghan,
Diana?
not even Princess Diana, how Kate Middleton is.
But Kate
treated.
Middleton followed the rules. I mean, she wore pantyhose.
Fair, but she's also white, and a lot of things that she was
I
not
don't know about the
criticized for.
pantyhose stuff, by the way. I was like, was that a thing? Or...
Well, I mean, if you want to get into it, I mean, we could literally do a show just with hot topics.
I mean, I would love that.
Okay, so what's the subject?
Oh God, I'd have to repeat the question.
What's a headline subject that you're so over that you're like, God damn, but if it came across again, you'd have to report on it?
Oh man, I'm losing a lot of friends by saying this, but I watched the first season of The Real Housewives of New Jersey, but aside from that, because it was when I first got a DVR, and there was not summer programming at the time, and so that season was that. After that, I don't.
I've never watched an episode about Housewives ever. I don't think I've ever.
Sean, we're done.
It doesn't I don't know why. I just feel like
Oh my God,
no,
you guys, it gives me
No se me
life.
da la onda. I don't.
It
crave
has
I don't
gotten
hold anything
ugly.
against it. Yeah, exactly.
It's gotten ugly over the last couple of years, so but we have a lot of housewives on the show.
Oh, amazing.
They're great. I love them. They're fascinating as people.
Make your check, make your money, but it's not me that's watching it, and I'm not their demographic. I'm not the one that I'm sure.
I also wouldn't not watch it. I just don't.
Oh,
That's the thing.
I would much rather.
I'm
watch
not
something else.
morally against it.
You know how people want to win an Academy Award? I really want to have a Bravo show or be one of the housewives. That's it, and then I'd be done. Okay.
I just want to be Andy Cohen.
You guys might
Not be Andy Cohen, but
yes, I know
what he
mean.
does. Yes.
Yes.
Curly, show me your last DMs.
Oh, my phone is off. Do you want me to wait to turn
Is
it
that
back
for
on?
real?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
I turned it off out of respect.
Turn it back on. Both of you. What's a Latin custom? What's a Latin custom or food or element that you're like, nope, don't get it, don't want it?
Chicharrones.
Chicharrones, really? I love it. I love chicharron.
I don't mind the taste. I don't love the taste, but I think the fact that it's when you start to describe to me everything that's a part of it, I'm just like, oh, that sounds
I love
gross.
our food. I get embarrassed. So Salvadorans have a soup called sopa de pata, and it's literally
I've
it's
seen
the
it.
cow soup, and it's Oh, me encanta. I love it.
Oh, give me lengua. I'm fine with I'm
lengua's
fine with
so
our
good.
food. Just like chicharrones.
You can
in
give me
particular.
lingua any day.
Oh my
Wait,
God.
I want to know. While he's pulling up his phone, I want to know yours though, Alexander.
I think it's like the tripe in their soup.
You know,
Like my grandma used to eat tripe
It's
all the
so
time.
good.
It's also like
That tripe is
te lo estás
trifling.
perdiendo. You're losing it.
Oh no.
I will say this: the one that I don't like is that I come from a music snob family. So merengue, cumbia, salsa. My dad has collected music for
Oh,
forever.
that could be mine.
So every time there are a lot of good merengue songs out there, but for some reason, and salsa songs out there, but a lot of times the parties will always play like Elvis Crespo, and it's like Píntame or like Suavemente, and you're
To me,
like,
it's the same beat over and
the
over. It
same
sounds
song,
like a circus with hot sauce.
I just sounded just like Elvis Crespo, by the way. If you don't like, that was
And
a
also
good
he
impersonation.
he
You're welcome.
now I think that counts as a singing if he doesn't answer a question now.
True.
Oh, thank you,
Patrick, what is a pet peeve about Matt, your husband, that you haven't told him ever?
Oh, we actually aired. Curly was there when we did it. We aired a lot of our pet peeves during our vows.
Yeah, Curly was there. Guess who wasn't there?
that wedding was so fun, by the way.
Shut up!
You know what?
Was it like in Palm Springs?
I think I was.
Men's Warehouse, right?
No, they were not.
Oh.
They were really cute. But you know what's really funny when you go to gay weddings? Any queer.
Please tell me
whatever-
how amazing this wedding was.
No,
More, please.
everybody, a lot of the gay men will always be in a navy blue suit. I don't know if you noticed that too.
Because
like,
it clings to the right places and it showcases it without it being like,
Well,
boom.
that's the cut. I think I think what's funny is that like if you're what I do think is funny compared to hetero weddings where like women just don't wear white.
Yeah.
When you go to a gay wedding,
Gays don't follow any of those
well,
rules.
one, they wouldn't follow
don't
the rules.
care.
They wouldn't follow the rules regardless. But like when you go to a gay wedding, it's like there is no rules, and so
Yes.
it's like you don't know what color the grooms are going to be wearing, and so like.
But it's usually navy blue and like grays,
You
especially the light gray, because then you can really see the
Matt wore
bulge.
maroon.
I
I wore.
know.
It's actually.
I saw the pictures.
It's actually the photo that you used in the promos for this is a shot from our wedding photographer.
oh,
shoot.
nice.
Notice I didn't include any wedding pictures, by the way. Anyway, okay, so what's a pet peeve about Matt that you haven't told him?
It's not something I haven't told him, but it's something that I don't think that he's
Okay,
yet
this
accepted.
one is you have not told him.
I don't have one that I haven't told him because
Oh, God, you guys are the perfect couple.
Well, we're not perfect, but
They are perfect. They're really close. They're so sweet.
I've always
they are
said
sweet, I'm
the
kidding.
one thing, and I put this in my vows. I said if we ever fight, we will always make the fight about what the fight's about.
I love that.
And
That's
so-
important. People have to know how to fight.
That's
Yeah.
not fun. Are you Latino or not? We
Well,
love to bring
I know
up
how to
stuff
fight.
from 10
You love
years
to
ago.
fight.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
you don't. Like that's the toxic part. You can't carry that with you. So what I will say is one thing that I feel like he hasn't accepted yet, which maybe gets to your juiciness of it all, is there are how many times I've been like, oh, yesterday I told you we have to go here tomorrow at 2. And he'll be like, you never said that. And I'll be like, nope, 100%. And then there's been times that like I've been able to show receipts of like, I told you this.
Oh, how sweet. That's so cute. I wish, I wish that for the both of us, that we can find somebody that's our biggest thing. Because my thing is like, oh.
I have issues on date 1. Like, that's all I know.
I will say that you also have to, there's a, like, to get to the point that you want to marry somebody, I think you have to also,
We looked at each other like, marriage. Just kidding.
you have to, I'm just saying,
Which I would love
marriage.
to, yeah.
You have to be willing to say,
To both be boring.
to both be boring, but also,
No, I'm kidding.
but also,
Just the opposite. You have to challenge more and more and more.
that is also a way to
What
look
were
at
you
it.
going to say? We're all cutting you off. And
I was going to
Because
say,
I don't want to hear about happiness.
I was going to say you have to get to a point that you're just like, here are the things I'm willing to compromise and here are the things I'm not. And as long as you find somebody that aligns with the things that you're willing to compromise on but not, you're
that's
good.
beautiful. I love
It's
that.
so, like, perfect, though.
I mean,
It's
I
like-
just got out of a relationship, so I know exactly like that. Like,
But
that is like a
but
thing.
because I was in other relationships that I was like, maybe I could see this going to be a lifelong thing. And then it get to a point that I was like, oh, no, I could never be okay with this
Yeah.
aspect.
See, that's when you, like, I think, especially in the gay community, we just let we let red flags go by, we let instances go by. And it's like, we have to not be afraid to be like, nope, this is not for me. Even if I gave it a year, even if I gave it 2 years, if it's not for you, it's not for you. From date 1 to 6 years into it,
Yeah.
don't settle anymore. I think we learned that all during COVID. We all had to be within ourselves, and we knew what we liked if we wanted to walk around naked or,
Yes.
watch Bewitched for 12 hours a day or Judge Judy.
Oh, I have to watch that. Uh-huh.
It's good, but we
You're
don't
talking
have
about
to
the Nicole
compromise.
Kidman movie, right?
So I reported this in my movie news. She said her doing the Lucille Ball film is very challenging. It's been one of the most challenging roles for her, just because of the vocal part of it, and that she wants Hollywood to cast her in more comedies over and over. And I was like, did you see Bewitched? We tried, girl. We tried.
What?
Yeah.
Sidebar, I will say that Matt was actually a big part of like helping me in my relationship, and I would roll my chair over to his desk and just ask him relationship
Matt's
questions.
just so great. Like,
He's so sweet, and he
That's the key to a successful marriage, just marrying a fantastic person.
he's so amazing. Both of you are so amazing.
you took him, so there's none left in L.A.
Well,
I
that's
mean,
They want to
that's-
feel your chakras.
That's true.
That's fair. No, that's sometimes a good thing.
they want.
God, but don't word it that way.
Why? I love that. That is the way to my heart. Like I'm what we call, like, a lot of people call, like, an earth gay. Like you come to my house, there's plants.
No, Curly.
I'm
One of my
burning
favorite
incense.
videos of
But I love
Curly
that.
is him literally bearing a leaf.
Oh yeah, I was like, it's one of my prayers that I do.
See, if we were dating, I would constantly be like, this bitch. That's all my videos would be like, this bitch, this bitch.
And that's
That would
fine
be my-
too, as long as you both are okay with
But
that.
I think
that
it's
is
funny,
fine.
and it's fun. I think, yin and yang. Anyway, Curly, what's something that you do in real life that you would be horrified to capture on social media? That you just do regularly? You're like, nope, that's not going on social
I
media.
smell things on my body. Like I like touch it, and I'm like, that smells good. That smells good. You check it. Don't you do that?
How many parts of your body are you able to smell?
Well, he's walking around naked all the time, so there's
Right,
Right,
probably
but
new
like, is
ones.
he also like a
Oh,
yogi?
God.
Well, no. I mean, like, if you touch your inner thigh,
Got
see what
you.
you smell
Got
like.
you. You're like scooping.
You
smell.
check your belly button. Do you know what I mean? I like my own smell. I don't care. Like, if it's somebody else, and that's my thing. If I date somebody else and they're like stinky, I'm like, oh no. But if it's me and I'm a little stinky, I kind of like.
I don't
it.
mind a little must. Especially after the gym. Don't take a shower. Let's
Oh no,
have
I
lunch.
do. I can't do that. I'm very like.
Oh.
No, I don't like
Oh.
it on other people, but on me, I'm okay. Like, I like it a little bit. It's like when you pop a pore and you just stare at it for a while. That's another thing that I do too. Nobody does that. No one.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm with you.
Oh, my God. Okay,
Yeah,
well, this one's
like-
out.
That's why Dr. Pimple Popper's like.
Oh, my God. I'm going to bomb it. Show us your DMs.
Oh man. Okay, wait. What do you want to see?
I just want to see who's DMing. Your Instagram DMs.
Here, I'll show you.
Okay, are there any pictures in there?
Of me or
No, of people sending you
Here,
stuff.
what do you want to see? Do you want?
I will verify
Oh,
that
it's
he is.
all like
that he is.
fire, love you, activist, whatever. There's no
It's not what Alexander was expecting,
No,
but it's
that's
what
what I'm
I
expecting.
what
What
I
were you
knew would be there.
expecting?
like
Dirty.
eggplant. Are you grocery shopping? That's what I thought.
Stuff like that. No,
Yeah.
but this is why. So this is why I tell people, like, if I don't answer your message, just send it again, because like I get a lot.
It's a lot of the same.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna
They
slide
should
into his
separate-
DMs, do
they
something
should separate
different.
reactions from messages.
They
Yes.
should. They really should.
Or
Are
like
you
5
listening,
words or
Instagram?
more. Yeah.
I mean, look, there's primary in general, and you can move people into different things, but
Oh, I will say, I'm not by any means putting myself in your category of the amount of messages you get, but like I will get ones that don't go to primary, and like I'll see them like 6 months later, and I'm
yes, you're like,
sorry.
"Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, that happens a lot.
All right, that was our truth or sip or sing, and we just answered all the questions. Okay, so we're almost wrapping up. So we gotta go because we got a few questions from you. So one of the questions was, you were so involved in fashion, working for David LaChapelle, Jeremy Scott.
Yeah.
What made you give that up and then start working at a kitchen?
I mean, there was no money in it. I literally was making $500 a month working for some people, and and I still would work from literally 9 to 7 and sometimes more, like longer hours.
That's
Like,
the
it was being
fashion
re-
world.
That's the
We
fashion
saw
world.
Halston.
The digital world. I mean, Halston's
Did
good.
we?
It was,
You didn't like?
the digital world is so much easier. You literally post one thing and you can do well if you really work on your craft. Like, we'll call it a craft, but if you really work on your platform,
It's a craft.
That's
Of course
something
it is.
but that's something important because I think people like say like, oh my God, anyone could be an influencer,
That's
and
yeah,
it's
not
not,
true.
it's
the
not
truth.
true.
Because
Yeah.
how many people are trying?
You
We
have to have
see
you
this.
have to have there's the amount of luck, but then it's work.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, a lot of work. So, but yes, look, what's really cool too though is sometimes I'll go into like old fashioned parties and they're like, "What are you, like a stylist?" And I'm like, "No, I work for digital now, and I probably can like purchase your whole outfit and more like in 2 seconds." Like,
What I love is that you share with us your fashion breakdown. So even if you have an expensive piece, you have like, got this at a thrift store, got this, and
my
it looks
God.
better than any Gucci or
Thank you.
Prada.
Thank you so
I mean,
much.
I was like, oh God, that's so
I mentioned the
good.
word brave earlier. Like you being able to wear the stuff you wear is incredible. Your outfit, speaking of In the Heights, the premiere, and what I loved, speaking to what
I
you
was
just
not a
said,
fan of that hat. I'm sorry.
that's a Vivienne Westwood hat.
I love-
We
I don't
Vivienne
care
don't
who
care.
made that hat. Stovetop hat.
It's on his Instagram.
It looked like a
Yeah.
Willy.
What I love is though that like speaking to what Alexander just said,
Yes.
it integrated these like high-end pieces
Yes.
with
Love
some
that.
like culturally relevant pieces with some stuff that you were just like I just had.
Yes.
And I love the fact that you're able to mix all of that.
Thank you so much. I mean, look, the feathers were from my grandma. My grandma collects feathers, and I just like strung them on these like chains. The hat is a Vivienne Westwood. The suit was from Goodwill. But here's the thing, my dad.
This suit is from Goodwill.
It's from Goodwill.
Do you know how many celebrities will copy this for the next red carpet
Oh,
and
absolutely.
love this? To me, this like a stylist did this. No, this is This is what's happening in Curly
Thank you
V's
so much.
head.
Thank you. Also, too, whenever people come for anything that I wear, my dad always says, like, consider the source. And I'm like...
Do you... So, Curly,
Sean, please play this picture back.
I'm kidding.
So, Monopoly has come out with their Latinx version. This is one of the pieces you
Don't
can
laugh
choose.
at that, Sean. That wasn't even that funny.
This
That
is one of
wasn't
the
even that
pieces.
funny.
The top with the straw hat.
It's a straw hat. No, but it looks like a little basket. But look,
were you always like a fashionista?
I always like to wear things. I always in the beginning didn't really go to the mall. I didn't really like to. Not that we couldn't afford a lot of the things, but it was
And living
easy
in
to go to
Hollywood,
Aardvarks.
it's such a different scene.
I mean, Goodwill, Aardvarks was always the spot when you were out here. You pay $10 for something, and I know when I walk on that red carpet, no one is going to be in my outfit. No one. So I'm like not worried about that. But yes, I've always loved clothing. I've always been like, oh, let me. I have all these like brooches on this giant blazer right now that I'm like, oh, I like. And
You just take chances. I think and that's something that like I don't naturally do. Like now I like push myself to.
Your style is pretty safe.
Yeah.
But you're cute. You're adorable in your style.
Which
So are you. You look beautiful.
Did
in
you
your
go to his
style.
wedding?
I did.
I know. Patrick is perfect.
And I got hit on by a couple.
I know that story.
Yes.
Curly, do you feel that your personal life has taken a back seat to being a content creator?
No, my content is about my personal life.
But it's also a job where you're like, okay, is this content worthy? Do I need to record this and then edit it and then put hours into putting this out?
No, I'm not really there. That's why when people are like, "You're an influencer," I'm like, I don't really influence people. I don't
You
have
don't
a
like that
niche.
word.
Like, well, I'm not like, let me tell you about this makeup. Let me tell you about this hand sanitizer. Like, I'm literally showing moments of like my family. I'm sharing
But
moments
that's
about
an
my.
influencer.
Your
though.
videos with your grandma are my favorite.
Thank you
That's-
so much. Thank you.
That's a subject we have to get to. As
But
well.
but I'm not trying to influence you to do anything besides call your abuelita, ask her how she got to where she got to.
But that's still an influencer, and it's something that you're recording for the public view.
Yes, but so does it go into my life? Not really. Like, those are things that I do anyways. Like, do I go to my grandma's house on Sundays and hang with her and
But
literally?
you have to put the camera there, then you have
I-
to edit it after.
you
Who
watch-
doesn't though?
If
That's
you-
what's
yeah,
great.
if you watch the full videos, which if I were to put them up, it's literally my dad. It's me yelling at my dad, like, stop recording me. Like, I don't want to be recorded. I'm just dancing for my grandma. And then the thing is that then he sends it to me and I'm always like, oh, thank you for these moments. Because whereas I'm like, this is not for social media, I then sit back and I'm like, wow, but this is
a
really
memory.
special. And I kind of want to share it with people because I want them to call their grandmas and do it and take the time to call your elders and hang with them. Elders are hilarious. Literally, I'll sit with my grandma and she will talk about dick and sex like right away, and I'm like,
I saw that video, and at first she was like, "Oh, hi," and then she was like in it. Okay, then we're gonna jump to this topic.
Okay.
Like it touched you. You know my relationship with my grandma. You went to my grandma's funeral. You sang at my grandma's funeral, even though I wasn't invited to your wedding.
Aww.
we got a flat tire on the way to the wedding, the way to the funeral. It was
You know who? But he probably slashed the tires so you wouldn't be there on time because it gave him nothing to do. This is a very serious topic, and we're gonna have to end with like a lighter topic. And I'm even getting emotional just talking about this. The younger generation, LGBTQ generation, has this new energy and this vim and vigor for the future. And maybe I'm wrong because I don't see it so much, but I don't see that kind of celebration and appreciation for the elders of our community, not just in the LGBTQ community, but like you were saying, our grandparents, even our parents. You know, we see all the posts from the pride pool parties and all that, and we really don't see a lot of the family. A moment from your social media, which is what he's talking about, just stopped me in my tracks. We've seen your relationship with your grandma over the years, and it's so fun and it's so natural and it's so real. But you're dealing with something that I have some relationship with, and that's dementia in a family. Your video, when your grandma held your
Yes.
face in
Oh
her
my God,
hands,
yes.
and then there was this, you know, whether it was brief or not, like she recognized you. We don't talk enough about our elders. We don't talk enough about the horrible disease that is dementia, that is
Yes.
Alzheimer's. I would love for you to share during this Pride season. You know, Pride is not just about us being prideful as gay men. It's about pride in our families, the families that support us, our friends that are there for us in our ally group. This is what Pride should be. If you can just share a little bit about what you're going through with your grandma right now,
Yeah, absolutely.
the good and the bad. bad.
Well, my grandma's like one of my best friends. My grandma used to let me play with Barbies when I was a kid. When my parents would get mad at me for being queer, my grandma would be like, okay, come play with Barbies, and would celebrate me. I would play with her makeup. I would play in her wigs. Like, I had so much fun with her. She's like one of my best friends. And to kind of be in a space right now where her recognition of me is limited is... like, it is painful, but I also recognize that I'm like, oh, I want to record this because I want other people to kind of like, to be on, like, back in the day, I started recording videos like in 2010. I mean, and they were always conversations with my grandma. Nobody was posting stuff with their grandparents. They were like, this is me being sexy. I was like, well, this is my grandma asking me about gay sex, right?
So funny.
So
funny.
it's like amazing because now we're talking about it and we still have that beautiful dynamic, but it's kind of shifting. Like, you know, she leaned in the other day and she was like, does your dad know you're gay? And I'm like, yes. And then, you know, she was like, but does he know that you take it in the ass?
Well, and in the Latin community, that's important.
Yeah.
No, it is very important because it's just passivo and whatever. But in one of the videos, she was saying that she had been married twice and that
She's
each
been married
one
3 times.
But she said 2 of the husbands tried to, and she was like,
Yes.
Like,
she's
she
like,
literally even said that.
I mean, it's been really beautiful. I think that one of the things that I always want to do is I think that I don't want to be somebody who's talking about, you know, a product. I mean, I do it to pay my bills, but what I want to do is showcase and highlight truly tender and powerful moments within our community that are very much unique to us, but also universal to being a human and alive. But I mean, I'm seeing her tomorrow, and I'm gonna see her again on Sunday. So
my grandma, she is also starting to suffer from that.
Mm-hmm.
She just had her 95th birthday.
Wow! Happy birthday!
My mom is flying her on a plane on Saturday to come see Miss Castro, a cabaret thing that I do for charity.
I love that.
On Sunday.
Amazing show, by the way.
And so yeah, she's coming here, and she's
Congrats.
95. She won't know who I am when I'm up on that stage, but like,
What date is the show?
it's Sunday.
Did you get invited to that? No.
No, but I went to one of the miscast shows, and Patrick did this it was very comedic because he was like, it was a homecoming queen.
Oh yes.
And it was so touching, and I just sat there like, oh my God.
Yeah,
It's
Sunday.
Sunday?
Yeah, it's Sunday at the Federal in North Hollywood.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Carly, you have to come.
I would love that. It's on Sunday?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Do you have comps?
My grandma will be there. She's 95.
Oh my God, I love that.
She literally had a birthday last week, but she is similarly, and I've recorded conversations. One of the things that like I need to find someone who can technologically bring back the audio. There's a recorder I had for that I would use for my interviews at like people back in the day that I recorded like an hour of her just talking about life.
It's so important. It's so
and,
beautiful.
And the recorder now won't play, and I need somebody to like pull the data off of it because I'm so grateful that you have those video moments that now are there. Like on your computer, but also on social media.
And I think we're all reliving those special moments.
I'm like, go in. I literally am like, talk to your parents, talk to your grandparents. And I know that sometimes you don't have that relationship with them, but ask them about heartbreak. Ask them about what it's like to get cheated on. Ask them about how
some things have not changed from generation to generation.
And there's stuff that they didn't talk about at the time. So
because
you open it up and it's all of a sudden like, wait, I can talk about this, and they don't have the preconceived like conservative nature of the time to say, oh, I shouldn't say that.
Yes, I think that's why my parents like me a little bit more, because I talk about everything, like literally anything, and I'm like the gay best friend that they never had. I'm like my mom. I don't ask.
You push the envelope so they don't have to.
Yes, my mom helps me with like my laundry and stuff sometimes.
Well, she got mad because you didn't make your bed when you go visit her.
But like, I don't ask my parents for anything. I never ask for money. I've never asked for anything. So what part of things that my mom does to show me her love is she'll help me with my laundry. But I literally am so like, get in the car, girl. Let's go get a cold brew and let's talk about life. You know, let's talk about everything. Heartbreak, men, what's happening in her daily, celebrity stuff. Like, oh, J-Lo's with so and so. You know, like I'm just a girlfriend, and it's fun. It's great.
And I've gotten my comment from my mom saying, you know, I'm so thankful you're gay because she's able to like relive that kind of experience and her youth and talk about stuff that she never was able to talk about. Okay, Curly.
Also, too, I do want to, if you ever want to go shopping, I would love to see what different colors.
You're going to put me in earth tones and I'll be like.
Or a basket hat, but it'll be Vivienne Westwood.
My Lord. Curly, you've been interviewed time after time. What is something you never get asked about that you would love to chat about?
I wish more people asked me silly things, like sexual things, like like just fun.
Welcome to On the Rocks.
Yes, I have.
When's the last time that you hooked up? How about that?
Do you want the real answer?
Yeah.
The real answer is I've been sober for 6 years, and I've only had sex with the 2 boyfriends that I had in those 6 years.
What do you consider sex, though?
Like everything. Like full
No.
ass. Yeah.
The vibration guy?
But that was like, that would literally, I don't count that. I don't count that.
That's what I'm saying. What do you count? Like.
I think if anything is inside of anybody for longer than a few seconds, then
Even 1 second is still.
no.
Oh my God.
You're literally gonna say that you poke somebody and be like, "Oh yeah, I had them, I fucked them." Like, no, you didn't. That's not. I literally, if you were my friend and you were like, some dude said that he had me, but he literally was in and out. I would
But
be
what
like,
about skin to skin contact?
I don't
and-
consider that sex.
Okay, but when was the last time?
That I had skin to skin contact with somebody.
Meaning like skin to skin contact that ended in a enjoyment of the situation.
Well, no, like
Your pinata got broke.
it's been a while. It's been a minute. I'm waiting. I also don't like people claiming me, and we talked about this too. I don't like people leaving the room and being talking about experiencing me when they haven't.
And do you feel like that's something that comes from the fact that you are a person that is well known, or
It's a
was that
mixture-
something that happened beforehand?
It's a mixture of both, but I also like in my 20s when I used to drink, I was a hoe. Like, I mean, I enjoyed it. I had fun, and it was always like different things of people being like, "Oh yeah, like I don't want anybody to talk about what it's like to sleep with me. I'd much rather they experience it, and then that's it." That's also a reason why I would date older men and straight guys when I was younger, because they're not going to talk. No one's going to talk about.
well,
it.
you weren't dating straight guys. You were dating.
I would date older men and hook up with straight men.
And Curly, we did get some questions about your sobriety.
Yes.
Pride is a very difficult season.
Yes.
There's a lot of triggers. Like I said, your video and
Welcome to On the Rocks.
Yes.
No, but this is what I love. It's because being a sober person, especially in the entertainment community, especially in the LGBTQ community, you have to be around this.
Yes.
The video you shared was about going through it during COVID. Somebody gifted you a bottle of tequila.
Yes.
And you're like, I'm going to keep it by my plant. It's going to be a reminder of my growth. it's like
I literally had it there. I was like, I'm going to put a plant over it, and it's going to represent how this plant is growing and how I have grown out of this drinking thing. And
Which is
literally, I was
beautiful.
like, I'm out. I can have it in the house.
But this is the reality. So can you share some of the triggers that some of our sober listeners might be feeling during Pride and how you deal with those triggers?
a lot. I mean, look, you want to be a part of the fun. You want to have fun. You want to engage. It's like, my biggest triggers, I don't care if we're sitting here and you're drinking, it doesn't bother me. One of my biggest ones is if, let's say we're going to go to your show on Sunday, but we're all going to meet at your house before, and we're going to have some drinks before,
It's
and we're
tough.
listening to music.
If that's
peer
the focus
pressure.
of the social environment.
That's why it gets. That's when it gets really hard for me, because that's pre-gaming is the best part. Like, if you go to someone's house, you get to pick what music you're gonna play. There's a friend of yours is DJing. You're making the drinks as strong as you want
So
to
you're
make
like
them.
a social alcoholic.
So I'm just an alcoholic, period. You know, like I literally would be like, I'll drink whatever. I don't care. I literally, when I was a receptionist in my 20s, I would put vodka in my coffee mug at the front desk. And I would start on Tuesdays. I'm like, well, technically it's not Monday. It's Tuesday at 3 p.m. Who cares? You know?
So I didn't know that my ex had a real problem until he became sober. And 2 years into his sobriety, he told me that at work, he would have a bottle of alcohol at work.
Yeah.
That shocked me because I was with him, had no clue this was going on.
Functioning.
Oh, highly functioning alcoholic.
But I knew when we would go out at night, the stories we have are the funniest stories and also like the most embarrassing stories.
Imagine the ones you don't remember.
Well, no, but exactly, and how the fact that we're still alive or we didn't hurt other people.
Yes.
But the fact that this was kind of going on, I mean, that is, serious when you're doing that.
Yeah.
And the fact that people around you might not have known that.
People had no idea. I've had family members call me crying and be like, I had no idea. And I'm like, nobody would have known. I didn't want you to know. That's the whole point. Like, literally would go into, I've been saying literally a bunch. I would go into the bathroom and do a bunch of cocaine and then come out and be drunk and I would be fine.
But it would balance it out.
Balance it out.
And there's shows on TV that glamorize that. Flack, by the way, which is my favorite new show, by the way.
It's not even new. I love that it's on Amazon. No, but I love that it's on
season 2.
Amazon
It's not
now
even
because
new.
it wasn't on Amazon until season. So basically, it was on another network. The network canceled it, and Amazon was like, it did actually well when you aired it on Amazon,
I
so we're going to
watched
pick
the
it up
original first season.
on Amazon though?
No.
Oh.
It was on, what was it on? Whatever it was on first.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, believe me. I love Anna Paquin.
Anyway, it's great. The show's great. But yes.
And what, they do coke in it or what?
But there's
Don't do coke, by the way. You two little babies back here. Don't do coke.
People, because we just have to talk about the reality. You go to any Hollywood party, it could be an 80-year-old's birthday party, and there's Coke in the bathroom, there's Coke on trays.
But
Can
also
I-
in WeHo, Coke is so easy to get. If you
Oh,
know where to
yes.
get it in
It's
WeHo,
easier
West
to
Hollywood,
get
it is so
than
easy.
Wait, can I tell
meth.
you a story that is 100% true, but will sound very fake?
Yeah.
Really quickly. I was in college, went to a pregame. Like, it was like, okay, we're going to meet at this guy's house.
That is a tough.
We're going to meet at this guy's house, and then we're going to go out to a club. And I was at the house. I was in college. Had never even, like, thought about Coke as a thing that I would ever do. And show up at the house, and they're making drinks, and then somebody just turns to me and goes, "Oh, do you want some Coke?" I joke you not. I said, "Do you have diet?" Which
And they
now
cut
I
the line in half.
Which now,
like,
I
"Here's
just,
your diet."
which now I just want to write something and put that in there because that was, but it was 100% honest. Like, that was my
Yeah,
reaction.
it's
'cause I
very
was like,
clueless. Like the movie, like, oh
Exactly.
shit, y'all got Coke here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, cut the line in half. That is
But
so
people don't
funny.
realize, like in LA, it literally is at any entertainment party.
There's Coke, there's weed.
It used to be. Well, it's less than it used to be.
Well, I mean, look, I come from like the fashion
Or it's more
world,
hidden
right?
than it used to be.
The fashion world is very.
It used to be like sitting out on like the
On trays.
platter. Yeah.
Like,
now it's like
Would you like,
oh, we go
you know,
in this
a pig
other
in a
room.
blanket or this line.
And some of these Valley kids too. Look, these Valley kids partied a little harder than the Hollywood kids.
And
for
it's
sure.
it's the new influencers. It's the new people that got their first show on CW or whatever. Curly, what advice do you have for an influencer who just got their first deal and might be coming into some money? What's your advice to them?
Save it. Save money. Like, that's my big thing. Save money. Don't go spending it all. Maybe your first big check, buy you a little something. Like, you know, you've never indulged. I bought myself the little gold Gucci ear that it's like a fake ear. But I've been saving and saving and saving. Like, you just never, especially in entertainment, you never know. You never know what could happen.
That's why I need to know exactly how much I'm making a month. And that's one of the reasons that, like, because I graduated with a theater and journalism degree. And I was like, I'm going to go journalism because, like, I need to know how much money I'm making every month.
You're
Yeah.
also married and have a house.
Well, now,
and, like,
but this was, like, this was like,
Oh, I've never done that.
years
You never-
ago.
But, like, you give me a paycheck for $5,000, I'm spending $4,999
I'm the
tomorrow.
opposite. I'm like, okay,
I'm just like,
how much is in my budget? And let me spend exactly
I'm learning
that.
because I was like this before as well, and I am learning. But I think that I just am like, I want to make sure that I'm doing it as best as I can. I have been really broke to the point where, like, I tried sex work. I would eat food that I found like by trash bins or in lobbies, or, you know, Dolly Parton used to do this where she would find leftovers and eat the leftovers.
Madonna, too. She ate popcorn out of an old movie theater.
So I would do that as well. And
Well, as an LGBTQ person, that does not envision children as part of my life now. I also think about, like, just caring for myself as an elderly person. Like,
Yes.
I'm like, even if I have money for now, will I have money when I'm thankfully
Oh my God, Patrick,
100?
this keeps me up
I know,
late at
all the
night.
time.
It really
Yeah,
does.
but you're gonna live to like 92 and then be done. I'm gonna be like 115.
oh my God, I always think about
Yeah, you and Matt will probably have, here's our celebration of our ceremony with the original people that were at the...
We'll let you come watch.
Oh my God, that's his favorite.
Shine too, by the way.
Oh my God.
Sean, what timestamp are we at? Do we have time for a hot topic or no?
We have 1:35, 1 hour 35 minutes.
Can we do a hot topic or no?
Sure.
Are you sure, Sean?
I don't care.
Sean has to go home to a straight life.
A straight life.
You can't have kids
kidding.
too now.
I know. Oh my God! Please, no more kids in this room. Kurt. But Sean, you know, other than the buttons at the beginning, thank you so much. Okay, let's do a hot topic, and then we are out. And this is a hot topic that we should all talk about. Go ahead. It's time for Hot Topics on the Rocks with Alexander. Better pour yourself another.
This is hot. That's hot. That's hot. This is really hot.
So hot, you guys. Okay,
I
here's-
keep waiting for the voice to do the hot topic or the other like segment intros to be a different voice than yours, but then I remember that it's
a
Alexander's
one-man
show.
shop.
Yeah, I remember it's
Plus,
Alexander's show. and
my
that
ego,
would never
nobody
be
else will
allowed.
do
Yeah, exactly.
anything else. It's like,
I love like the little photos that you put up where they're like the saturation is up. It's looking a little glossy. Wait, why'd you give me that look?
I don't know what
Because
you're
he does
talking
it
about.
himself.
You little blouse.
Anyway, all right. This hot topic, and this is why we do the whole intro, because we clip this for your viewing pleasure. You could look at all of our hot topics in a row, because we don't pull punches here. This month, we've been honoring and recognizing a number of LGBTQ celebrities, corporate ads, at award shows, in digital and live pride events. They are recognized as, quote, unquote, activists. Patrick, you and I have interviewed a number of these activists. Curly, you've mingled on the red carpet. You've been called an activist. I do believe you are an activist. Here's the hot topic. A lot of these LGBTQ celebrities get a paycheck from their on-screen projects, get paid for their endorsements, get paid an appearance fee for events. What is it that they're doing for the community? Should they be pressured to put their money or efforts where their mouth is in terms of volunteerism into actual work, or is being an out-of-the-closet personality activism enough? And, of course, I'm generalizing here. There's a number of celebrities, part of our community, even our allies, that give a lot of money or a lot of hours. There are those that don't. And I have to tell you, this Pride season, I have come into contact with many. I'm like, you're called an activist. I don't know what you actually do for the community. This is the hot topic. Discuss.
I will say, I think that there's people that, I mentioned this earlier in the show, visibility is important. And so sometimes just being yourself is important. And sometimes we have to remember that someone being visible does not necessarily mean that they have the means to do more than be visible. Financially, that is their only option. So I think that it's stuff that we can't, as spectators, comment on, in the sense of, like, I can't tell this specific person you should be doing more because I don't know what their financial situation is. I think that all of us, regardless of if you are an LGBTQ person and donating to LGBTQ resources, or if you're just a person in the world and have the opportunity to donate to a recycling fund or whatever, like, we should all be doing as much as we can. And so I think we need to leave space for people to understand that as much as you can, quote unquote, can mean something different for different people. But at the same time, we need to be holding people accountable that what they're doing is not solely performative.
And I guess I'm talking about some of the top name celebrities. And in the recent years, from interviewing some of these people, it's been very difficult. It's been difficult interviews. And then you do research and you're like, well, I don't know exactly what you've done. And it gets a little shady there.
I mean, look, I agree with you completely, because that happens to me a lot. People are like, well, what about this? And I'm like, I do donate a lot, but I'm a Latin kid from LA. I give a lot of my money back to my family. So
when I call you an activist, like, I mean, there's no doubt in my mind, because I've seen some of the talks that you've given from around how you inspire the younger generation of your own free teen. Like, and I'll call a spade, you know. I see this happening.
Thank you.
There's no doubt in my mind you're an activist, but you know who I'm talking about. There's certain personalities.
There's certain people, yeah. And thank you for that, too, because that's another word that I'm also like, oh, influencer, activist. I'm like, I just want to post videos about me and my grandma. Like, I'm not trying to change what you're doing out there, right? Some people I am. But
which is the great thing about the fact that we get to celebrate you, but also the sad thing that we get to celebrate about you is the fact that just you being you is being an activist.
Oh, and that you're right. And that's the thing too, right? Like you were talking about, you know, being seen and being visible is so important. And I think that is sometimes that's all you need to do. We just need you to like come out but I agree with you completely. I wanted to just say ditto. Like, I agree with you completely. But what do you feel like? There's someone on your mind. Who's on your mind?
No, I'll never say that. And it's not just one person. It's like this whole echelon of celebrities that get paid for all of this.
Yes.
They get a stylist. They get to walk the red carpet.
Yeah.
And then they go home to their big homes. And it's like, yes, I'm here for the LGBTQ. And I'm like, are you really speaking to the homeless? Are you doing anything about that or the Latin community? Or like, what is it that you're doing other than showing up for these big events and having us buy your latest single or going to your appearance at LA Pride or whatnot? And it's very frustrating to me. The more I get involved with the LGBTQ entertainment community, the more I get a little discouraged as to what's actually happening.
There's one person that I think of on the top of my head who is like huge, like mega. And
is this a truth or sing?
I don't know. What do you mean a truth or sing?
Name them or sing.
Oh, I'll sink. What does that mean? Like, what do you like?
Who's the person?
Well, it was. I'd rather not because the people come for me. But it was a weird thing because although they have been informed by queer culture, like you can see it, and they have informed queer culture as well. Like culturally, queer people love this person. I've never heard this person come out and be like, "I'm here for the gays. I love the gays. I love the queers. I'm here." Like it's just a thing of, "Oh yes, I love the queers."
I think you meant ka.
What do you mean? But no, I get it because you're just like, what are you doing? And a person of this caliber at this level, and maybe we don't know. Again, we don't know what kind of money they're donating. We don't see what they're doing behind closed doors.
We challenge our allies. It's like, how much of an ally are you? We challenge everybody else. Why don't we challenge our own activism?
But I think it comes back to what I'm saying, and just in terms of sometimes, like Carly said, he's supporting his family. He's doing things that like are important on a micro level and that we might not see at a macro level. And I think that's sometimes some of the discussion that we have to have is that like some of the white celebrities might not have to support their families in the way that there's a lot of discussion,
and they're getting paid millions for their TV show or their movie,
right? But there's an interesting there's a name for it, and I'm gonna forget it now. But there's an interesting phenomenon that happens with minority people that make money in their families, where most people that are white are able to use that to fund their own lives, versus minorities that make a lot of money. A lot of their money ends up going back to their families, and not just their immediate family, but their extended family. And so that the fact that like a black person makes $75,000 versus a white person makes $75,000, that white person is most likely able. And again, broad terms. I'm not saying there are not people out there that have different scenarios.
But these are themes that are truly affecting.
Themes that they are able to put more of their salary towards themselves, versus a lot of times people in minority communities are putting that money back into their community.
Yeah.
These are the conversations that we have to have and we have to promote. So
yes.
But
remember we were talking about tops and bottoms?
I know. Bring it back.
But it's funny because you and I both work for a publication. We could never call somebody out saying, you know what? Had a shit interview with you. I know you don't do shit for the community. We can't do that. So how do we challenge this group of celebrities to actually do stuff?
Start a Finsta. Get a what do they call? What is it called on Twitter when you get a fake Twitter?
It's Gossip XOXO Gossip Girl.
You know that there's a new Gossip
Yeah.
XO. Did you get the?
I haven't watched it yet.
It's fine.
I actually didn't watch. This is not. Again, it's like Housewives. It's not a comment.
Oh,
on
I didn't
it.
watch the
I
first.
didn't watch the original,
except for that
so I don't know.
hot guy.
I don't watch anything.
And then he went to that show on Netflix, and then he lost too much weight because he apparently is skinny like the rest of people in COVID.
Oh my god.
Anyway, we've totally gone over time. I literally have, Curly, so many questions from your fans.
I've never seen somebody be more research for an interview than Alexander. It's amazing.
I love that.
So I just want to shout that out.
You know, we never know what's going to happen on each episode.
Yes.
Like we just don't.
But I
I
want to
think
come
we
more
talked
often
about
and play
some,
with you because I love you so much and you're so funny.
but
And
you're so hard to get a hold of.
No, you're so. Hit me. Well, now you have my number.
Right.
Yes.
Don't do the DMs because we know what that's
Yeah.
like now.
You've had my number though, or is this the first time?
You changed your number or you blocked
Why
me.
don't you
from
call
your
me?
first.
I'll invite him.
Yes.
And then.
But I have your number saved. I had your number saved.
If I'm not invited to your funeral, I don't know what's going to happen.
Oh my god. No, but
I love
would
that he thinks
I
he'll
want to come
outlive
back.
me.
I want to come back. Let me know.
Bitches like me don't die. Death becomes her. Anyway, so we have to come back. I think we should make this a bigger conversation.
I agree. But let's also talk about tops and bottoms again, and then we can invite some of our straight friends to talk with us.
So Curly, okay, so let's say this
They're falling asleep back here, by the way. They are.
because they're like two straight guys. They're like, can we just
Who
live
cares?
our lives? Curly, if somebody were to stick out in your DMs, what would they have to send you or say or what?
Oh, if somebody were
Because you're
to,
single.
be maybe a joke, maybe something funny. I don't know. Make
Make
me
you
Like a
laugh.
knock joke?
No, like
John.
like
Oh, no.
like a root chakra sort of a thing. Like impress me. But also I'm very old school. Call me pretty or call me beautiful, and you got me. Yes.
But that didn't say anything about the type of guy that you like.
I do like. Are you asking what kind of guy I like usually?
Sure.
Or I predominantly date men of color usually, and some men that are ambitious and have dreams and good relationships with their families.
Good luck. All right.
What do you mean, good luck?
Tell our audience where you want them to find you and follow you.
You can find me at the Curly B Show on Instagram, on YouTube, and on TikTok. And TikTok, I'm a little raunchier, so come over to TikTok.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah, but it's just shit jokes there.
Patrick, where can we find and follow you?
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Patrick Gomez LA. You can also, the show I mentioned earlier, please check it out if you're in the LA area on Sunday.
Yes.
It is. You can find the details on my social. I will make sure they're there momentarily if they're not already, but also Miscast LA as in Los Angeles, same as Patrick Gomez LA as in Los Angeles. It's a great show, and all the money goes to Project Angel Food, which provides meals for people with terminal illnesses, predominantly HIV/AIDS.
What song are you singing?
I can't tell you.
share?
No, it's always
Yeah,
that's
it's
always
a
the thing. I can't even
surprise.
tell. I can't even tell Matt. I can't even tell my husband. It's always supposed to be a surprise. It's always fun. The theme is miscast, as in the name, Miscast LA. So you do songs that either because of your race, gender, age, body type, skill set are not
love
something you'd ever be asked to perform in real life.
That is so funny. Also, I just realized that watching you on the screen back here, you and Matt both have like the sweetest, nicest faces. Like y'all just look like the people that you want to ask for directions, right? Like the people that would save you.
Ask me though, not Matt, because he wouldn't know.
But if it was in a horror film, they'd be the first to kill you.
No, they'd probably be the maybe the first.
We'd be
to go.
we'd be the last one to survive because we
Yes.
killed everyone, or we'd kill. Yeah.
What do you think you and I would be? We'd probably be the first to go.
Of course. Like House of Wax, Paris was like, let's get her.
No, I think Alexander would be because he would just be like sitting in a room
I'd be in the
drinking.
corner. Yeah, I would be like, I don't care. Like, just don't
But I
kill
would
me.
be first. I'm too friendly. I would be too gullible and want to make friends with the killer.
Yes,
and I'd be
I
dead.
didn't want to say it, but yes.
Yeah,
Especially
I'd
if
be
he
first.
was hot and, you know.
Be like, hey, tell me about your life. Tell me your story.
Tell me about
Yes,
your
I would.
chakras.
Oh my god.
I have perfect pitch. Speaking of perfect pitch, you guys have to watch our new engineer Sean's music videos. He'll be going to be releasing some new
Yay.
stuff soon that I hope he can share on the show. Is that true? He's so scared of the show.
Totally.
Does he have it
What's
ready
the
already?
genre?
It's like John Mayer, Ed Sheeran, that type of stuff.
Okay.
And we know
Got it.
John Mayer can't even sit down because there's like so many people like at his door.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something else.
That's what I thought too.
Well, I meant
How
that.
sweet. Can you,
know
give
what
us
I
a
mean.
little sample or not so much? Like, can you give us
We just
Not
talked
right
about-
now, no.
Oh,
I
okay.
can't.
Calling people on there. Stop it. Okay, well, that's all, folks. We have to go home. It's always a grab bag of fun every here on The Rocks. And I'm very happy to be celebrating Pride Month. Big thanks to our fabulous guest, my guest co-host, Patrick Gomez. Our new engineer, Sean. What's your Instagram?
It's at Sean Lusk, SeanLusk.
Such a
so
straight
sweet.
handle. It's
But
not like
also-
Sean Hot, Sean.
So nice. Sweet angels, both of these men. Both
Thank you.
sweet
Thank you
angel
so
pies.
much.
And we have an engineer in rating, Robert.
Yes.
Yes.
Love angel music babies over here.
Also, a big thank you to our intern, Alexis Mendez, who does all of the social media clips that we love. Please like and share the show. Until next week, stay sexy, stay happy, stay healthy, stay you.
Stay hot. Stay
Stay
hot
hot.
out there.
And if you're sober, stay sober.
Yes.
Okay.